Good evening, Trinidad Tobago family. We are back on the Allergical program. I have Mr. Ken Dalchin, our civil engineer, back with us. But first, we're going to introduce our sister, Takesha Clement. And Takesha was one of the stranded citizens who suffered, I think, one of the most traumatic experience amongst Miss Joanne Pantin was and it was quite a lot. So Takesha, I want to welcome you back to UNC USA, and deeply appreciate you taking the time. And I would like if you could give us a take a few minutes and give the people an understanding that what you went through. Just give us a little a breakdown because people forget, and I just want to kind of reintroduce the situation that you went through, if you don't mind. So go ahead, Takesha.
Hi, good night, everyone. My name is Tikisha Clements. I'm telling my story is like I'm reliving a nightmare. I went on a 1 month vacation and it almost ended up to close to 9 months to help Takisha come home. First time I left Trinidad, it was the 19th, either the 19th or the 20th of January, 5 years back. First time I've left, ever fly out of Trinidad and Tobago, left my children. I went away to the BVI over a vacation, but actually it wasn't really a vacation. My brother had a surgery to do, and I went to be at his side. Oh yes, just telling this it does bring water my eyes, so let bear with me a little bit because I'm reliving this nightmare. Basically, while I was over in BVI, um, Prime Minister at the time was Dr. Pete Rowley. He said that he's given nationals a certain period of time to come back to Trinidad. When I checked my ticket, I said I was on board. But just so Stuart Young came and advertised that the borders is closing midnight, about, let me say, about 3 to 4 days after. So when I watched my ticket, there's no way I could have reached back to Trinidad before midnight. I would have reached either stranded in some country. I tried my level best to reach back to Trinidad in the airport, in BVI airport. I passed out in the airport. Hmm. Carry all bear with me.
Take your time, take your time. It's a very
Yes,
traumatic
yes, you take
experience.
your time. We getting all the time. We understand.
Ah,
If anybody understand, this is me.
Definitely,
Go ahead.
definitely.
I end up in the hospital. I lost a baby. I didn't know I was pregnant at the time. I was locked off of Trinidad and Tobago close to 9 months. I outreached to a reporter by the name of Otto Carrington. I outreached to all the media service like TV6, and it's only Otto Carrington take up my story. A good friend of mine, she put me on to Otto Carrington, and he heard my story. He interviewed me, and he heard my story immediately on the news in CNC3. I begged the Prime Minister to come back home on of numerous occasions, and I had Mr. Pakesh Ramadan bring up my story in Parliament, so they was aware of what I was going through. And it wasn't I alone, it was other stranded nationals. And thank God to Gary forming this, I believe it was Trinidad and Tobago Stranded Nationals. And he formed this group. And you
TNT
believe it or
Citizen
not,
Overseas. TNT Citizen Overseas.
yeah, believe it or not, that group, we come like family because everybody had a story to tell. I One day I started to hear voices. I don't know if I was going through postpartum. I wasn't really studying that day. All I was studying to do is come back home to my children. That's all I was studying. And I cut off my head I had Miss Joanne Panton. She was one of my mentor, telling me not to give up. We praying every evening over the phone. Everybody came like family. Gary, thank God for you, because at the end of the day, if you didn't form this alongside with other people, we could have really go mad, because I started to hear voices in my head. I started to see like I wanted to walk on the sea itself to get back to Trinidad. Hmm. Hey. Hmm. I had people try to outsmart us. Gary, you could tell that too. People
Yeah. I
try to
think
outsmart us by telling us that our well, it didn't have no plane at the point in time, so people was trying to outsmart us by telling us we could pay 50,000, 60,000 to charter a plane to get back to Trinidad. And I beg Stuart Young. I don't like to call the name Olive. I've been honest there, because
no. You have to. You have to call the
calling
name.
the
Put the
name,
name out to the people. Call the name.
it has built up a kind of, I don't want to say hate, it is a strong word, but it has built up a kind of rage in me, because at the end of the day, all they lock us out, and all they had no, we had no answers why they lock us out. I watched that, you know what hurt the most? I watched that we beg and plead to come back home. And these people and them bringing Delcy Rodriguez on a half an hour or hour meeting when our borders was closed, whether could I keep that same meeting online. I watch at they keep crickets. They had outsiders rather than to bring us back home. We had people writing them, begging them for exemption, immigration. I had my husband alongside. It had a group called Trio. Titi, there was protesting outside the Red House to bring stranded nationals back home. I outreached to them. Them had my story. My husband was there protesting. I outreached to Mr. Philip Alexander. He aired my story at one point in time too. Until eventually I have messages earlier. Everything I have evidence, because thank God for Pakish Ramadan and Gary that they let us know to document and tape everything. So I have all my receipts and everything. What I have is in my attorney, which is Anna Rambrogan Hands, right? I had outreached to Stuart Young, and mind you, Stuart Young was my MP. Stuart Young was my MP at the point in time. I outreached to him, and I begged this man one night. I hear a voice tell me, message him again, because he's reading messages and he's not replying. So I hear a voice told me at night to message this man. I said good night. I saw him read the message. And then I sent a voice.
We lose it there, Takesha. Are you still there? And I think we lost a little bit there, but
Him as a parent.
yeah, go
No,
ahead, go
she's
ahead.
back.
And after I outreached to this man, one text was, I will give you an exemption. That was his text, right? And with the I will give you an exemption. I thank this man so much, because I just wanted to come back home. And basically I asked this man if he needed my name or anything. I sent my name. I had my husband visit back the immigration office with my documents. I had Gary alongside with, well, once Gary gets on board and once Otto Carrington, I must praise this man, this reporter. because he was a big help in my life too. I can't forget good people. And once Gary aired my situation along with Otto Carrington and Dr. Karen Suhan, it had real people on board. People who I have know. We had Sasha Singh. Everybody just started to send aid to me or reach to me, asking me, well, what they could do, whatever. And hmm, eh, Lord, I'm talking about this earlier, and this real hard, you know, because hmm, I come back home, Gary Chua go for me alongside with other people. I had Miss Kamala Prasad Bisasa. She was one of the persons and all to pledge money and the GoFundMe. I had other certain people in high authority with Gary, you know, make up the money for me to come back home. And from there, everybody come like my family. Everybody steered the ship with me. I had people paid for me to stay in a place in Barbados because I was quarantined under the state. Mind you, before I leave the BVI, I had 3 COVID-19 tests done to travel. When I reached Barbados, I had a COVID-19 test because other points in time, the past government was trying to scare people of Trinidad and Tobago that stranded nationals was bringing back COVID. And I watched to see these people and them at the point in time keep election. I don't know how to win it back then, because when I was watching the map, there was no way. But that's our next story. And I watch to see that these people and them frightening people with COVID and them keep rallying, they keep all kind of thing. I watch at the same government who was saying at the point in time stranded nationals was bringing back COVID. The spike just went up in Trinidad and Tobago. So who was really bringing back? Who was really coming in the country with COVID? Because remember, the country was in lockdown. They had they implement, if you don't wear a mask, you pay $1,000. So we was being locked out and COVID was still on the rise in Trinidad. So who was really bringing back? That was my question to who was really bringing back COVID in this, who was bringing COVID in this country while the spike was going up. Anyhow, after I reached Barbados, but like they find like my story, like everybody just want to run with my story. So I feel like they try to victimize me. And I feel like I wanted to give up. I wanted to give up because when I reached Barbados, I to come back, my name was not on the flight. Carl, my name was not on that flight to come back home. And I tell Gary, I said, Gary, one night, I said, Gary, that is a day, you know, because I feel like I just want to give up. And he said, no, Takesha, don't give up. I had a lady by the name of Miss Shara and Joanne Panton's daughter pray with me over the phone and they beg me and they tell me, Takesha, don't give up. I say, I'm feeling like if this is it. And I say, Gary, I never do this in my life. I feel I have to make a life. Telling the world what they're doing to people because they're playing with your mental. They're feeling like, boy, like they just want to go mad. And Gary said, Takesha, I with you. Whenever you're ready, go ahead. I with you every step of the way. And first time I ever make a live, I believe the live's still up on TNT Stranded Overseas. It's still up there on that page. And I make this live and I beg in Stuart Young, please make sure that my name go on the flight to Carl. I had a lady, her name can't come to me, but I have everything on her file. She said she worked in the office of the Prime Minister and she ain't calling on behalf of the government, she's calling on behalf as a mother. And she saw my life and she's very touched by it and she will make sure that she gets in contact with Mr. Young to see what he could do for me to get my information. Well, I don't know because of the live I made, Mr. Stuart Young messaged me and he said, your name is on the flight. Well, I had Gary to investigate it to see if my name was really on the flight. Thank God it was. I came back home But before that, I was watching the news. Of course, you know, you will pay attention to the news every minute. So I watched to see that Mr. Rowley hold a press conference one day with Mr. Parish Farm, and they said that people who is coming back home, if they have negative COVID-19 tests, they could get to go back home and finish quarantine. They would not house them, right? Mind you, that was a lie. It was a blatant lie to only tell people at the point in time what they wanted to feed the people with. But they say who in the kitchen that's feeding heat, right? I came back to Trinidad with 6 COVID-19 negative tests, right? When we reached Trinidad, I reached Trinidad about after 2. I have videos there. I could send out all the videos to Gary too. When we reached Trinidad, they treat us like prisoners. When we reach on the plane, they take off the AC, right? They seize our passport. Everybody was on the plane. They seize our passport. They take away our rights. So we had no rights at all. So even we could not contest to nothing because we had the army and the police, the big set of entourage, right? They tell us who wanted to go where they paying who. So basically you can't say nothing. You just have to watch and observe. They had our luggages shown out, spraying it down with disinfectant. Mind you, they thought we bring it back over there. They place us on them long time PTSC nasty bus. You hear how I expressing it was very nasty. I have pictures to show and videos to show. And remember they said social distancing? Everybody was placed on that bus. All the flights were connected who came in at that point in time. Everybody was placed on these buses. We didn't have anything to eat. They never offer us nothing to drink. All we get while we was on the plane was a bottle of water. Mind you, I'm a diabetic. When we reach, they take us about close to an hour to say, well, who going where and where, who going where. And they said, well, I was going Paria site in somewhere in UE campus in DB. Mind you, when we reached DB, we reached DB the night about after 12. While we was traveling on the highway, but it was a big thing because they started to let people know that outsiders coming in. So we had people, when we stopped on the highway, we had people shouting and saying, we bring it back. Look the COVID bus. Look them, they bring it coming back COVID. Why all they didn't stay what it is? I had a Barbados flag because you know why I walk with a Barbados flag? Miss Mia Motley, as we reached Barbados, this lady did not scorn us. This lady treat us like if we was Bajans. They offered us to treat us really, really nice in the airport. Even the quarantine us free of charge under the state. We had proper health care. We had doctors and nurses 3 times a day. She quarantined us free, treat us nice. When I reached the home of football, when I reached the big campus, it was about minutes to 7. Mind you, I touched down to Trinidad minutes to 2, because I was figuring out where to put people. So I end up DB. When we reached DB now in the night, well, our luggage was not allowed to travel with us. When we reached there, hold and behold, the campus, the nurses say that we cannot stay here because it have no water. So they cannot deal with that. So it had us to turn into plant B. So some went Cape Cod, some went Paria Suite in La Romaine, some went Homa Football. So I was one of the few people who went to Homa football. When I reached Homa football, I was literally lining up. Well, they make us line up to where no social distance. You can remember they treating us like prisoners. So when I reached in Homa football, I was literally cold sweating, like I wanted to pass out. And it's a nurse. Thank God for that nurse observed what was happening to me in the line. And she walked up to me and she said, "Good night, you're okay?" Because like she thinking now I'm showing signs, symptoms of COVID, right? So I said, ma'am, I'm feeling like if I want to faint. I only keep telling her, I say, "My name is Sikisha Kraman." I said, "I feel like I want to faint." I said, "I'm suffering from diabetes. I feel like if I want to faint." I keep telling her. So she take me out of the line. She checked my pulse, the rush for a chair, to put me to sit down. Remember the score and me to her, so I didn't care because I didn't have no shame. I know I had no COVID, but I just wanted to sit down. The rush and they gave me some juice. It didn't have nothing to test my sugar to stick me. So they had was to use one of them needles and then when they hooking up a IV access. So that was to stick me with one of the needles. Says she, "Ma'am, sorry, yeah, but we don't have this. Remember, here is not really a health facility, it's just a quarantine facility." I said, "Just do what you have to do." I just telling her that. I said, "Do what you have to do, ma'am." And when she checked my temperature, I didn't have no fever. So she feel a little source of comfort where she could interact with me more. And when she checked my sugar was like 40. Yeah, so they hit my next juice again to drink. They hit my next juice. So there's a nurse make me out. And she, I hear any name, the name ringing a bell. I say, "Yes, I take Isha come home." Because eventually I got famous, eh? So yes, music girl who was crying on TV, who lost the baby and whatever. Yes, she, oh gosh, yes, she, I'm so sorry, whatever. Then Gary again outreach to, I don't know whoever Gary outreach to. Thanks Gary again. And people just started to come outside. My family did not know I was in Trinidad, but other people who was in authority with Gary, big people in high places, came outside the home of football. They didn't have us to offer me anything. They bought everything for me. When I reached upstairs, when they realized it was what was happening, and they were so frightened of giving me the says a VIP room. They said Ian Allen was on that floor, and they gave me that VIP room where I don't have to be around nobody and had to be by myself because other people had was to share rooms. So I had this nice room, with living room set, 2 bathroom, and it all. But you know, my thing is, right, you have to check your own temperature. So people could have lied. So even if I had a fever, them just calling you on the phone and letting you know, Clement, what is your temperature? Sometimes I being honest, I don't have time to use that thermometer because I know I don't have COVID. They just make people feel that stranded nationals was coming back with COVID. So I will call them, it's 36, you know. It had one day and then he passed out again. And I would reach to Gary and I would reach to Mr. Pakesh Ramadan. And that is from there he started to tell me, tape everything. I don't know how Gary is a private eye to her. I don't know how Gary got my mom number. I don't know how Gary got my husband number. But everybody was calling me to make sure that I was up in that hotel room. Because they're not coming to check on you, eh? You just coming down when you was I experienced at the home of football on a morning you have to come downstairs to check your vitals, you get your breakfast and you go back upstairs in your room. During the course of the day, around after lunch, you will call and ask you what's your temperature again and whatever. That was it. Nobody coming by your door, whatever. Basically, the housekeeping, they put all the stuff outside the door, so you have to bring the stuff back to the hotel room and clean up your area, whatever, whatever. We didn't have water for 2 days here too, eh? And well, of course, everybody make friends. So when they see I was famous, they was asking me now, See if you can reach out one of them reporters and them tell them what is going on here. We don't have water for 2 days. We had to have some bottle, sponge ourselves, water bottles, because I had Gary had people bringing cases of water. So I share too. And we had was to use bottles to bathe the sponge off. So I call management over the phone because we had the number we could have called management. I say, if I didn't do something about this water problem, I am going to document it, I'm going to send it out, and I'm going to let people know what is taking place. How all you couldn't have water in this compound because basically nurses and them was telling us that nobody don't want to come because they were thinking we coming back with COVID, so nobody at the point in time don't want to come to rectify the water problem. So it was an issue. So after I told them that, well, the issue it rectified because the cause was made, and the issue with the water because we didn't have water for 2 days, it rectified. But you know what's my thing? I have a doctor telling me I'm actually begging. One point in time, these people and them, well, my people start to hear my story now at Takesha in Trinidad. So it's just all kind of reporters just keep ringing my phone. I don't know how I get the numbers. So basically, I was not telling anybody anything more than I was dealing with Otto Carrington because he's the person what heard my story from start. One point in time, they come for me at night. Gary, remember that?
Yeah.
They
Go
come
ahead.
for me at night and they say, what? They had instructions for me to leave from there to go Cora or somewhere
They're taking you in an ambulance.
in an ambulance without anybody knowing. They asked me if I could wear this white coat to like disguise myself. So Gary, of course, and Mr. Pakesh Ramadan and other people, I said, no, I stand it down. And I said, I'm not leaving from here. I'm not leaving from here to go anywhere. When I'm leaving from here, it's to go home in my house. I am not leaving from here, or you cannot fool me, or you cannot fool me to go anywhere. Or as a matter of fact, I do not want any medication. I want to see my own doctor because Dr. Karen Suhan, she advised me don't take no type of medication, nothing at all. We just want you out from there and we will do the rest.
You see, the thing about it, Takesha, is that you had clearance from Barbados. You went through all the drills. And when
That's
they
right.
tried to force you to go over the quarantine again, you know,
Yeah, Magari?
yeah, so they tried to force you to do the whole process all over again when you had clearance from Barbados. But then we
Mm-hmm.
had Dr. Suhan back us up, and that's how we were able to get you out of there quicker than the usual time, you know?
Yeah.
Right. So anybody has any questions for Takesha at this point? Uh, Doc, Dr. Ramup is here. Ken, Suman, anybody?
Well, being home here, we don't know exactly the trauma some of these people experience outside there, and it's a good thing that they speaking out on it. I mean, nobody was listening at that time, but at
Well,
least they can.
we didn't have media coverage, Suman, and it was very hard. It's almost like down September we finally got somebody to cover one story and they started up. But in the beginning,
Yes,
this we couldn't get nobody to cover the story. Nobody talking.
nobody talking, and apparently that was from a directive from higher up. Because it's only now we're getting a
Well,
chance to
all
get.
you hear what kind of why I said I have real rage in me. Listen to it, eh? When that time come, they say we have to stay there for 7 days. So the day before, well, actually when we reached Trinidad, the next mind you we did not get the COVID-19 test right away. I travel in Antigua, I travel in Barbados. As we reached in the airport, we had COVID-19 test administered to us one time before they deal with us. The next day we had COVID-19 test. Imagine up to this day, 5 years after, I still haven't gotten my results from Trinidad and Tobago. You understand? When I take a COVID-19 test the next day, everybody take the COVID-19 test. We didn't get the results because the doctor who administered the COVID-19 test, I have him on tape. He is saying that the healthcare was overwhelmed and it's a backlog of tests and let us take our time. The last day for us to release us to go home to our destination, then we get the second test. So this is my question to him. Doc, but remember I frightened, right? Because remember I going back home to my kids, I mix up with all kind of people on a flight. I mix up with everybody on the bus. We didn't have no social distancing because they had us out for airing. You understand? So my thing is like, Doc, I ain't get back my COVID-19 test, so no, I can go back home, whatever. He said, Miss Clement, oh gosh, you safe because I had my share. I had all my tests in my hand. The test
Yeah,
you
but the
have all
fact that
negative,
they
so you
wanted her to
safe.
do
So
the
you
whole
safe. You could
14
go
days
home and
again,
just
you know?
wait until 5 days before you walk out on the streets. Hello, how I could be safe, right? The Prime Minister said on the news who was coming back home if they didn't have no everything was negative for them, they could have go back home and finish quarantine, right? When I reached the home of football, we had nurses and doctors telling us that how he didn't put it in writing. He just said it over the news, but nothing wasn't in writing, so they have to follow protocols. That is why it is housing us under the state quarantine, right? I outreached to Otto Carrington alongside with Gary and them, and I told them I didn't want it in the media because I watch at Gary, you know that, right? My family was real. You see, my children had so much outrage too because the kind of comments my children had watching people, same people and all too, who I thought was friends and all too. The kind of comments people had to say on social media about Stranded National and about I particular, with my story being aired, the amount of nasty comments I had, it even affect my children and all too in school and all too. So basically, although I reached back home, I was like, wow, it take me about close to to deal with that situation. And I went back out to Carrington, told me here what he said, I will come and pick you up without nobody knowing. They gave me the same white jumper what I was offering me to go to the ambulance with. For me to leave to be disguised, I leave at Otto Carrington. My husband had a car behind and we went, I didn't came in Port of Spain. I went straight to Faizabad. And from there, he said, well, Takesha is back home or whatever. And mind you, when I call again, I call back the home of football. I say, this thing is bothering me. I need my results. I need my COVID-19 results. Imagine I reach back home and I doing something, want to hug my children. I had to be in a room because I'm frightened, I'm scared. And he said, give it 2 weeks. And then you will go up on the ministry site and you will type in their surname and you will see a test 2 weeks after. You will see a test. Well, I never see it up to this day. And it's from there, doctors start to outreach to me. I get a little checkout from Dr. Karen Swan. She put me on to some medical team from San Fernando, thanks to them. And it's from there, I never get nothing. My mother said I was sending 8 for Stranded Nationals out there. I
But, you
wasn't
know, the
one of
thing
them to
about it,
get anything.
Takesha and everybody, is if Dr. Sohan did not intervene and assist us there, we would have been in real trouble. You see, they couldn't believe a person like Takesha could have a backup from a high medical senior doctor like Karen Sohan. So they had to get their act together knowing that Dr. Sohan was involved, you know?
Yes, Gary, so true. And I had a doctor called Dr. Belcom. She and I was on board together with Dr. Suwan. And they didn't believe, and I had Sasha, Miss Sasha, you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
know
Miss
that.
Sasha saying, because she told me, when I came back and all, she said, Takesha, I know you're traumatized right now, but I'm trying to advise you. whenever you've had the time, sit down and write because your story is so touching. Lost my job, had to start back from scratch. It it wasn't easy. And I watch you see all these people and them victimized Shandon Nationals. You know, up to this day, they never had the courtesy to tell us sorry. Just a sorry. They never give us an explanation why it is they keep us out there so long. They never even offer counseling. Because mind you, where I was staying, I maybe move out about 5 times before I come back to Trinidad. I had the BVI immigration outreaching to Trinidad immigration to accept stranded nationals in the country. There was even offering to charter the flight just to give us an exemption. To say, well, all right then, we have an exemption for them to play the land in PR code. Nothing, not even a counseling. Hey, this thing.
Anyway,
I could never like these people. Sorry to say, I could never like them, Gary.
If anyone has any more questions for Takesha, I want to bring you back another day. Takesha, anyone? Ken, Dr. Ramup, anybody?
Takesha, thanks for sharing that story. Very traumatic, and there's a healing process. But thanks for sharing that story with all of us.
No problem, man. And
I want to give her some time to recoup herself. It's very traumatic for her.
Yeah, if Gary want the videos on all too, because I have videos from on the plane to the bus to the home of football. I have the whole journey. I have all the text messages. I have everything to prove.
Well, the thing about it, I kept from the time she made contact with me, I kept in touch with her every step of the way. So
thanks to Mr. Anna Ram Logan too, because the real fight, the real fight, Mr. Ram Logan, the real fight, Mr. Ram Logan at the points in time, because everybody's story was happening and these people and them was like, wow, they don't care. And thanks to Anna Ram Logan for standing up for us too. He's 1 in a million and he do it without even money. People will say they're looking for money, they're looking for this, they're looking for that, but right is right and fair is fair. You understand? Because this man never take a cent from me. He never take a cent from me, and the fight down this man, because this man stand up for people. And I must thank Miss Pamela Persad-Bissessar. She wasn't the Prime Minister at the point in time, but just trying to help me out and order to reach back home and not go for me. I must thank everybody who helped me, and up to this day who stayed on me, and I will never be ungrateful to nobody. So everybody have a blessed night.
Thank you, Takesha. Give you some chance to recoup, and we'll come back another day.
Thanks. That was good.
We're not done with them.
I was very interested.
Certainly.
So, gentlemen, I guess you had a little chance to look at our budget session during the week. Dr. Ashford, anybody? Doc, you had some things to say, right, Dr. Maharaj?
Oh yeah, I have a lot to say.
Yeah. Well, if
Quite a lot.
I've never seen so much stupidness. I never knew that it's going on in Trinidad, man. This is terrible. Did you see? Did anybody follow what these PNM people were saying? I mean, and what is even worse is that the UNC couldn't answer them properly. I don't know what world this is. This is not a real world. Trinidad is not a real place then. Because if these people were in government let's talk about in the last 9-10 years only. That's a lost decade. Because nothing could have happened. The approach these people are taking, Trinidad could not get anywhere. They will not be able to get anywhere. I'm not saying what you all are saying. I'm saying using these kind of words you all are using, but the meaning I have behind this is so different than what I've been hearing all along. The kind of conversation, even in the platform, when the UNC was criticizing the PNM, the description of the PNM the way they are, the way they have deteriorated to the extent that they don't even deserve to be nowhere near where decisions are being made. Much worse to hand them the purse of the state to run their affairs. They have no clue of what finance is all about. And that Minister of Finance, that extra minister, or that whoever he was, I don't know what his degrees and things that he have, what his training is, but he's a bamboozler. He's just a jackass in a lion skin, something you all say something like that before. Ass in a lion skin. He's not a real fellow. He's not real. He couldn't be real. And I could understand they being stupid enough, but the UNC could not answer them properly because they had to put them in their place and tell them that this is our budgeting scenario and our assumptions are different to yours. So you would always have a problem with what we are doing. And therefore, what we are doing now, no wonder why you sitting there and we are sitting here, because your model of running a country doesn't deserve to be on this side. You doesn't need to be on either side. Luckily, you're on that side still. This is my thesis all along, but these people should never be near. There should be a third party, and the PNM should disappear. Because they're damn useless. They have nothing of substance. Everything is downhill. And I'm saying so because I'm a kind of independent thinker. I am neither, if you ask me between the UNC and the PNM, whoever again, I would say I'm an independent person. But I couldn't hear that nonsense. And the more I didn't want to hear it, the more I listened, because I don't want to hear. But yes, still I want to listen. Because the reason I want to listen is, if I could get, I want to change my mind. Because the kind of opinion that was forming over the past 2 days, and when we went to the third day, and I think I told Gary this last night, that on the third day, that would be around 5:45, 42 p.m. Finally, one person gave the correct answer to the PNM people. And she told them, she said, listen, we have X amount of money to do X amount of things, and we have enough money to do X amount of things. But last year was more than this year, the PNM was arguing. Yes, I understand that, but what we have now, we can do it. Then the PNM says, well, okay, well, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to get more money for you because your ministry needs more money. No, I don't. I have enough. I don't need any more money. I have enough to do what I want to do. Finally, I think Gary told Geraldine John, I finally gave an answer. That you don't measure performance by dollars and cents. It doesn't work. That dollar-based budgeting that they're doing, that is administrative budgeting, we call that. And that was done, all is being done. What was it last year? This year had to be more than last year. That is the rudimentary, that is what we're dealing with. That is the kind of people they have running this country for the past 9.5 years and another 30 years before that. And I only know these things because I never really followed this up before the debates about, I thought the budget presented, they have the debates and the yes, no, and nay, and no, and they're done, and they move on again. But I didn't know that so many days, the fight really happening after the budget presented, the fight is going on now. I don't think much people see it because when I look at the bottom, I saw just 2,000 and 3,000 people looking normally in a big budget day, the 3 or 5, 20, 15, 14,000 will be looking on. So it's a small number of people not engaged in what's going on. Maybe they get turned off or they don't know what this is all about. And it's not a matter because the UNC have the 29 votes and the other people have only whatever 13. They should have 0 votes, really, but they have 13. They have a lot. They have too many to make so much of rabble rousing and thinking. They only, this is. I don't know how many words, what I could say again, but what kind of assumptions they're using? Okay, you know what their thing is? Their thing is that their model of running a country is based upon the Dutch disease, where you depend on the inflow of oil or some natural resources that God is a Trinity, so God will put something in the earth down there, and you will just reap it. Go to the bank and laugh all the way. And this must be done year after year, and that's the kind of budgeting they're doing. The Dutch disease budgeting. And did they have that money run out? Oh, money run out. We can't do anything anymore. But we still have to live. We still have to eat. Sorry, you can't eat anymore. You have to die. But because they told me, there's who said it's like a budget. Last they were arguing that it's just like a budget. So okay, it's just like a budget. So money go down. If money is zero, just like a household budget. If you say, and I say in his opposite, I say no, the government budget is different than household budget. I take the opposite side. The PNM saying no so if you have less money, you have to eat less. If you have less money, you can't go to shop anymore. You can't buy any beef steak anymore. You have to eat doubles on street food. So because you can't afford it, the more expensive American food or beef and whatever, turkey and whatever they have again. They're eating Trinidad goat and duck and those kind of things. So burn your belly, in other words. So the government job there is to rain manna from heaven, distribute these funds, and if you don't have anything to distribute, well, crop smoke the pipe, you have to die out. So when they couldn't find any more, they decided to charge because they want the money to run. They believe, and they could see every statement they're making. Well, why are you spending less? You're supposed to spend more. But it's simple. You said it's a household budget. A household budget says if you have less money to spend, therefore you're going to have to cut somewhere else. So how are you asking for more money when you're supposed to cut less because the oil price is going down and therefore the household doesn't have enough money anymore. Therefore everybody had a band the belly. That's your theory.
The thing about it is the UNC can do more for less, and that's what it is.
That is the point I'm trying to tell. That is what
they couldn't handle. You know,
then Jeremy, but no, the UNC
spend
couldn't
so much
tell
money. They spend so much money, and they can't show us nothing much for it. You know, and I mean they build a highway in Komoto there and Toko there, Ken. That needs a lot of work. You know, and Ken could give us a little rundown on that.
Gary, look, the more I think about it, and the timing of that highway, right? That was a political ploy. They rushed that project, and we are seeing all the potential defects, non-consistency with the design. Now, I haven't looked at the design. I'm requesting copies of the approved drawings. But lately, what we've been observing there in the news and social media and so forth, a number of accidents where vehicles are crashing into the rail, right? Specifically around some of these horizontal curves or these curves in the road. So, the more I think about it, Gary, and the timing of that project, right? I mean, the substandard work, the drainage works, if you look at that's something else you could talk about, right? The concrete that they poured there. I mean, I never see concrete being poured like that, right? Also, a lot of that storm water is being routed straight into Sangre Grande, into the storm drains there, and it's overwhelming the drain, and it's creating a problem there also that we have to look at. So, we have to be very mindful when we administering these capital projects and how we're spending money, right? We don't want to waste money. We want to save. We want value for money, right? And I'm not seeing a lot of value there if we have to go back and remediate and fix something that's brand new, right? So with that said, Gary, we have a lot of work to do there, a lot of investigations. I spoke to the director of highways, and she said the project is still with NITCO. It hasn't been handed over to highways. So I'm going to contact NITCO this week and ask them for a copy of the approved drawings, and if they could route it through the Toko Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, I could pick it up from there. But the highway itself, I think it has already claimed.
But can we like is it almost every week we have an accident over there?
Yeah,
and
the last
how
accident.
They design how that road falls in narrows down to the end or somewhere there.
Correct, and the curve. Now the thing is, people are getting injured. I don't know if I think someone died there also. We have some fatalities, right? So we have to pause and look at this design and see how this was built if what was built there is consistent with what was on the plans, on the approved drawings, right? And this wasn't just rush for some political ploy or some political gain, you know. And if that is the case, then we're going to have a problem here, and we'll have to probably, generate some questions to ask down the road. But that's where we are. We're taking a step at a time, doing all of our investigations, and based on the findings, then we'll put together a report. But also, as engineers, we have to ensure, we have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure the public is safe. And that is why, Gary, when we've been seeing all these accidents, in fact, 1 or 2 every week, almost at the same spot.
That's what I'm seeing. So we need
Almost at the same location.
we need something is very wrong there. We need some investigation.
Correct. It's far too frequent. So look, and the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned this, right? She wants to see performance, right? And that should translate to a value for money, right? And as Gary just mentioned, the UNC will do more for less. And the last thing we want to see is a lot of wastage. People building projects, and you have to go back and remediate. I mean, I never heard of that, right? You can't do that sort of stuff in the States here. You lose your license as a professional engineer if you design something and it fails. Gary, you know what I'm talking about? We work in the States.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You know what got me is Coleman Bud was so caring about the people of Port of Spain, and the UNC is taking advantage, and they're cutting the budget for the people of Port of Spain, and they're not putting things to the people of Port of Spain. Well, hello, buddy. You was there for the last 10 years. What did you do for the people of Port of Spain?
The people of Port of Spain.
And you can't show where the money gone.
Yeah. Look, a simple problem, and the people of Port of Spain, and I will say this publicly here, right? When it rains in Port of Spain, now, I mean, we've been getting some very intense rainfall. It overwhelms the storms, drains there. Also, you have a combined system, right? Storm and sewer. And when the flow capacity is exceeded, that storm water mixed with sewage starts to surcharge or backflow up these manholes, through these manholes, right? In places all over Port of Spain. The Express newspaper, a guy from there called me and said, Ken, we have this manhole bubbling here. What is this? I said, look on the manhole, you see it says sewer, right? So you know exactly what is bubbling through that manhole.
Ken,
right?
for the last couple of years, we had sewer backing up in people's kitchen in the Beatum.
Yeah, and that's a health hazard. Now, mix that with the runoff, with the storm water. And what we have? We have a major health problem, a health hazard there, right? In addition to the flooding problem, and the poor people have to now commute and walk through all these flood waters. They're walking in sewage water. Water mixed with sewage, right? And I haven't been hearing anyone talking about it, But these are things you spend money to fix, right? To safeguard the people there, their health and well-being. So yeah.
I think I answered you all, I gave an answer a while ago. The PNM, the government that has been in there for 30 years before, plus another 9, plus another 9, or 9.5, that they have been running this country, and they are not real people. And therefore Trinidad is not a real place because the government was unreal. It's a lost decade, or more than one decade that was lost. So do not look do not look value for money, because that is not the way to do business. The way to do business is how much money did we spend there, and don't say we're doing nothing. We could spend $1 billion there. How we say we're not doing that? We spend 50. Their measurement for accomplishment is how much money they spent, not even invest. It's how much they spent, and that is how they were. That was the debate going on for the past few days, that the UNC is spending too less, and they need to spend more because the PNM will spend more, and therefore you're not doing as good as us because you're not wasting the resources as good as us. Therefore, you're not good at us. You don't deserve to be in government because you don't know how to waste, and we know how to do it. Therefore, we qualify to be a Trinidad government. That's my theory. So you could talk about the hill road, the water running down the hills. The reason why the road, the contract is not working because they gave the contract to their friends and family who knows nothing about, like my friend would say, structural engineering, and therefore you just give them a contract and they hire some guy from the back street corner who could who could hold a shovel and he building drains, or he digging drains and building bridges. And therefore, what do you expect? 1 year later, that bridge falls down. Why think the water cannot be held in Port of Spain? Because the drainage is all mixed up, all tied up. There is no structural engineering feat that took place under the ground in Port of Spain. So they're saying global warming, not a hell of global warming. It's not damn global warming. Global warming is not for that kind of country. You spit on the middle of, you could spit on both sides of the ocean. A small country like that, you're talking about global warming affecting you? Not now, I said that you did nothing constructive. You had no foresight. Therefore, everything you build is crumbling. Why the water running off from Port of Spain, coming around the mountains, coming down to Port of Spain as soon as a slightly drizzle fall? Because you had no drainage. The drainage has to be from the hill coming down. You put houses on without any drains. What the hell you expect? So your whole structural engineer is wrong from the PNM was wrong for Trinidad is suffering today because of the PNM, because of the people themselves who've been choosing these people year after year, even though they can't perform and now they don't come, nobody should complain in that country. Just get yourself there and do what you have to do. If you lose after the next 5 years, it's all right. But do the correct thing, which I think the UNC is trying to do. But they're not answering these people because they go win this. This PNM will win this battle in the public domain, and the UNC will lose again because they're working too damn hard and not really answering them back. There's no sense you work hard and you couldn't sell your project. You couldn't market what you're doing. The UNC would not be there next 5 years if you do not answer this nonsense. These people are because they're getting away with it. And the people in Trinidad, easy to shift. It's just like the water from the mountain coming down. They're easy to shift from one to the next. Next month they get up and they say, okay, we'll vote PNM today. And next thing you know, that's the UNC to catch. Because all you need to have is to shift in those marginals and they're gone again. So this is the time to really get it across them and answer them properly. Don't mess around with them. Answer them. Tell them that you measure with money and we measure with performance. You use money to measure, and we measure performance. We can do like Geraldine John did 5:44 p.m. yesterday. Would tell them we could do more with less, and therefore I have enough money to do what I want to do. She answered them back. And then call him and tell her, okay, I'm making a case for you to get more money, so you could get more. You don't want more money? I have enough that I need to do. That's the way to answer them. No crap getting to the doldrum because they want to hold it. 4 days, how many days now going on? They still have finished that budget. When they go finish in the end of December? When they go start to operate influence? When they go start to implement the budget? If you're taking out 4 or 5 weeks or more month.
You have to vote on it, Doc. Maybe you forget how the process works, but you have to vote on it step by step on each bill.
But listen to me, man. They're holding back this process. The speaker is supposed to tell them, okay, that's enough. Let's next item. You already had the votes anyway. So move on to the next item. Let's go. They're rabble-rousing through it. And you could see the tactic, what the tactic is. So, all these things you all want to get done wouldn't get done until the budget is passed. And they're dilly-dallying. They're making it sure that nothing. The UNC can get nothing done. See where they look, feel the waves, feel the vibes. If you feel the vibes, you know where these people are going with these things. They are good at what they're doing. Don't let them get away with it. So I don't know.
Totally shameful.
I don't think my thing. I really don't want to say much because I prefer to do, and the only way I can do is I get under the ground in Port of Spain or get in South and get in somewhere and get somewhere in Trinidad where my noise can be heard. There's no sense I make noise with you all on this thing. I'm not getting anywhere with it. I want to talk to somebody over there. Like not more government. I want to, you know what I mean. I really want to. Because this is really
get a megaphone and go down. Get a megaphone and go down.
This is they have to do that. This is a backward country, and the reason why you all will grumble.
Suman already there. Go join up, Suman.
You all will grumble from now until Thy Kingdom come, and nothing will happen. The thing wouldn't change. Eventually, you get fed up, you're frustrated, and you'll walk away. Let me go to our next country that is more progressive, and that's why many people leave Trinidad. The crime is already bad as it is, but the PNM is worse than the crime. If I look at what your problem is, the problem is that the PNM is your problem, a big problem. They should never be in government, no time. Not in the past, not in the future. Not even now. So I don't know what I think Tanku them had to come do a little better than what they're doing. Because they could be smart enough, but you have to answer these people. Because they're winning the argument. The point is they're winning the argument. And that all they have to do is to win the argument. You win in performance, they win in old talk. And old talk beat performance anytime to win an election. And that's all they have to do. And that's what they've been doing for the past, 60, 70, how many years there.
I have to disagree with you, Doc, because I've seen
It's okay. That's fine.
I've seen where they handle themselves pretty good. I saw Roger Alexander handling himself pretty good. You know, from the time you start to answer them back, they're trying to shut you up. You know, where you answering the question because they don't want to hear the truth and the fact that they deny and starve the police for resources so much that things were not efficiently delivered. With the funding, and Roger kind of put them in the place there a little bit. He's very smooth on that. I mean, Dave Tanku did an excellent job too. I mean, we have a few people who are new to being a minister, but I mean, I think as far as I saw, I think these guys were handling themselves pretty good.
Take what they say and turn it back on them. That's why you win the debate. You don't really answer in their back. You want to swing it back on them. Take it back like Geraldine John. Swing it back on them. Swing it back on them. So they end up, they put their tail between the leg and run. Especially that same one who playing the smart from Diego Martin south to central, where you from. As soon as you corner him and you corner, you slide, you laugh under your teeth, you smile and you duck and run. But you have to take it and turn it back against them.
Yeah, he have a lot to answer to yet with how money was allocated and he can't give account to it. And he's so concerned about the people of Port of Spain. But he gave his son a big job, right? And he didn't give nobody from Port of Spain a job. People suffered under their government. Suffered under their government. They have areas like Labantil and the Beetham Ken. Well, you know about the engineering design for those areas there, how that's the reason why that sewer water is where it is that there, right? That place is a total hazard.
Yeah, definitely. And when look, when I return to Trinidad, in fact, right now out of the country, I want to get together and propose a solution for that, because it's an easy fix, right? And it's also sad to see this is a health hazard, in the middle of our capital city, and no one seemed to know how to address this, But yeah, we'll deal with that, Gary, at some point down the road. But as far as infrastructure, that new highway, Toko the Sandy Grande highway there, Emilia Clarke, Alan Clark, right? Right now I'm looking into that because the more I read on the news there, with all these accidents occurring at one particular area, it warrants an investigation. So we don't want to. I don't want to get too political here, but I want to. If I have to say something, I will say it.
I think that was rushed. Political. This is a safety issue. This is a. We have seen two accidents at least in 1 week at the same place.
Yeah. So I think it was rushed because of its timing around the election time, right, for political gain, and that is not how you administer a project or build a project, right, to gain some political mileage from it.
Yeah, but these fellas that care about public safety, them only want fame and and to look good and to say, well, they did this and did that, because they know look how they rushed the part of the hospital there and say it finished and it wasn't finished. And
again, next classic example, right? Classic example again there. Let me give you a next example: flooding by the lighthouse, Gary. You saw a couple of years ago they implement some pump system and stuff there, and one day a guy took a picture, a video. During a low tide event, the water level in the ocean there is lower than what was in South Key, and South Key had about 1.5 feet of water, right? The whole place is submerged in South Key, and the garbage got hooked up or snagged on a 2D trash rack, and it created a constriction, right? I mean, simple things like this, and I heard that there was some, like, I don't know if 20 or 20 something million dollars was spent there. And let me just rephrase that. It was wasted. 27 million was wasted there, right? So my colleague there, doctor, mentioned, what the PNM does and what way they were doing. And to me, these projects can reflect value, right? If you have to go back and do it over again and fix mistakes, and a highway is potentially putting people's lives at risk, then we have a problem. You shouldn't be in government and you shouldn't be administering projects.
I
right?
think the PNM is a liability to us because I
It
mean
is
there's always somebody suing us because of what they did. There's so many cases that can be made against the government because of the actions of the PNM, right? And I mean, in the road that they build is a liability. I mean, everything they do is a liability and a risk. You know.
Correct. Right.
Go ahead,
I
Ken.
think once you assemble the right group of persons with the experience, right, we could do it for less because we are doing it right. We are analyzing it properly. Like Gary, just to give you a briefing here, Shogunas West, Gary, we are looking at, and this is Gary's idea, right? Gary wants to reinstate the water taxi along with a deep sea port, and we also want to look at the traffic congestion in Central, which we are looking at right now, right? In fact, Gary, next week I should have some preliminary designs. I will share it with you.
Yeah, but also while we're dealing with this, simultaneously we want to address the flooding issues while we in this whole infrastructure design. So we deal in
Correct.
flooding, traffic, and boosting the infrastructure in what we talk about.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
Because the Diwali Nagar, look, it was a very, very successful, right? The only issue we had there was some runoff, right? And it's a minor fix. We will address that, by upgrading the storm drains and stuff, and isolating the Diwali Nagar area, right?
And possibly
handling
get some large pumps there in that area to kind of move the water quickly so it doesn't flood the place.
we put together a nice stormwater management plan for that Diwali Nagar so that would not happen again, right? A combination of underground storage, underground subsurface drains, tying into a pump. Now, Gary and I live in New Jersey, and where I live in New Jersey, in my basement is like an aquarium with the water on the outside. So I would have a sump pump in the basement, pumping groundwater that's coming into the basement, right? So stormwater management is no stranger to us, and we'll come up with we'll scale a plan, right, for that area, and we'll fix it once and for all. Now, coming up to the traffic, focus on the traffic, we're also going to have to address that. So we're looking at expanding the network there. Right now, we're scouting out some new alignments.
Right. A multifaceted project.
Correct. Yeah, so a lot of things happening from Toko Sandy Grande to Central. A lot of stuff happening. The PNM, but the last government, they left a mess here, and we have to go and fix, right? And they've also neglected, and I'll say it loud and clear here, I don't care who here or what, because that's my observation. Certain areas of Trinidad and Tobago, growing up there, way back in the 70s, 80s, right? I've never seen roads neglected in that last 10 years. Some of the roads look like...
in the 70s, you used to have a decent pavement. Like when we go up in Central, the pavement on Central was... Now you could fall inside a manhole, in several manholes.
Correct. So I want to believe that, a project requires money. And some of these corporations were starved of funds. So therefore, it would translate into the neglect that you
starved of funds. They couldn't get a backhoe. They had to borrow a backhoe from over here and over there. And one councillor, they had to share the backhoe. This nonsense had to cut out.
Yeah,
so I want to see
definitely.
they get, number one, they had to get equipment. And I mean, with your engineering skills, to get the advice. So whoever accepts we help, we're going to give it.
Correct. So you have a lot of assessments to be done, right? And again, look, Trinidad and Tobago is our country. And we have to try to also promote this country, right? The revenue streams in the hydrocarbon sector, it wouldn't be there forever. And we live in the Caribbean. We hot sunshine in the Caribbean, lovely beaches, and I think we could definitely expand our tourism sector, right?
Yeah.
Building a deep a cruise ship port, right, where we could have Disney cruises, Norwegian cruises coming in there. I
Along
went
the
to
Gulf, along the Gulf, right outside Felicity there. What I'm talking about the ferry port, so the additional
Yes.
port when we go towards what Petersfield there now. You know, we're moving
Correct.
that what they call southbound, but
Yeah.
the ferry port we're talking about. So we would dredge. If we dredge the Guayma River is over there for the boat to come in a little bit more and go to that park and ride like I talk about. But go ahead.
Yeah. And yes, Gary, those are very, very ambitious projects, and it would definitely add a lot of value. We earn a lot of revenue, and we help to expand and spark growth and development, right? Look, I went to St. Lucia a few years ago to assess a flooding problem there for the government. And one of the guy who was acting as the prime minister, because the prime minister had to fly out somewhere, he took me to a place where his hometown, where he grew up. And that day when we landed there, and I was in Castries, I saw about 4 cruise ships coming in there. It was like a cruise ship traffic jam. And I said, wow, look at this little island. 4 cruise ships here. And when the guy took me to, it was a Friday night, we went down to his hometown. I can't recall the place, but they blocked off the entire street. And they had a big street party, restaurants and vendors selling food, and everybody listened, played music, and the tourists spending foreign exchange there. I said, wow, this is what we need in Trinidad, right? But to get to that point, we have to build the infrastructure. As Gary was mentioning, we need to have that infrastructure to facilitate, right? But it is there. But we have to now put people in place who have that vision and foresight and have the expertise, right, to be able to make that become a reality. And again, our revenue streams, we are depending too much on these hydrocarbons. We have to shift away from that, right, and start to diversify. We're hearing the word diversification now for decades, and we're not really seeing it happening.
Good.
So we have to get serious.
What we know is they're full of more big talk than action. Right.
Oh yeah.
But but listen, we live along the equator in the Caribbean, and we're not really capitalizing on solar energy.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
So that's another thing that we haven't looked at. I mean, the wind energy and the solar energy.
Renewable. Gary, even look up in Toko, the Northeast, right? I mean, they do a lot of surfing and stuff there. That is the windward part of the island. We could also
that is what I suggested when I see Dr. Munilal met with those people with the wind energy. I was suggesting the Northeast there.
We could build a wind farm, right?
Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we got cut off the. We could propose building a wind farm in the Northeast there, in Toko, in that Northeast region of the island, right? Again, tapping into our renewable resources, renewable energies, sun, wind, But yeah, there's so much potential.
Dr. Ramrup, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening.
Jump in when you're ready. Nobody under restriction here.
I'm listening.
Hey guys, let me just give you a little. I want to also thank Dr. Ramrup. When I launched my design, I own about 10 industrial designs with the Intellectual Property Office there, and 2 of them were implemented in Bamboo number 3. And Dr. Ramrup saw the value in those designs. And he's a man who understands water resource and flooding, right? And he helped me make that a reality. So Dr. Ramrup, I want to thank you for that. Those designs were done under the UNC government in 2013 and 2014.
Yeah, I remember, Ken. I remember we went and we looked at it myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you want to talk about driving innovation in Trinidad and Tobago, is the UNC government. And I could say that because I own 10 industrial designs. And not one of them were implemented under the last government, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to innovation, when it comes to foresight, when it comes to really driving growth and progress in Trinidad and Tobago, is the UNC government. And I'm the living example. Dr. Ramrup, you were there with me in 2013, 2014, right?
Yeah.
These are difficult problems the Drainage Division couldn't solve. And I met with the engineers and I proposed an industrial design. And today, it has been working there fine for more than 13 plus years without any maintenance. So I think we also need to do a story on those designs
You know,
and talk
when
about innovation.
Inbud was pushing this rail, you know, the rail is a good idea, right? But you want to go and move people's houses. I say come down along the Gulf, like I was talking about the Gulf, with the causeway there.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. I went by the creek yes, this morning to dispose of some of my some of my organic stuff from my prayers that I had on Sunday morning, and they're still struggling about it. Can that whole creek should have been a causeway,
Yeah, yeah.
they're still spending money there, and it's just going into the swamp. It's amazing.
Where you talking
Dr.
about?
Ramrup?
Where the Mosquito Creek is?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That should have been a beautiful
how you
causeway.
gonna build a highway so low in the ground over there in the first place?
Well,
Idiot.
also what the thing is, they need to do a proper geotechnical investigation there, right?
Yeah,
What was the issue? What is the challenge there? Is the consolidation of a clay layer, right? Clay is something you have to know how to consolidate that. It holds the water. You have to install wick drains, and you have to gradually load it, right? And again, they rush
but
it.
doesn't it? I mean, what kind of soil testing they're doing? I mean, they don't understand the kind of soil they're dealing with when they go there. What kind of engineers they have there? You know.
Gary, you see, there's nobody to question NITCO, nobody to question the consultants, right?
Yeah.
And that is the problem there, right? Like, for example, I mean to say, if there was something that was erratic in that soil profile, we should have tightened up the borings and say, hey, let's do some more borings here, right? Because we may have a suspected area here is very erratic, right?
But it's
again,
a swampy area. What have you done to pull the water away from where the road is in the first place? Nothing,
that's
right?
the next thing, the drainage plan, right? I mean, look, Gary, we build highways in the swamp here in Florida. It's a common thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, these people don't travel. They don't go to see Louisiana and how they play. How many? 24 miles of a causeway? Over the swamp?
yeah. And eventually they may have to raise it again.
Well, they will have to. I mean,
well,
as
I mean,
said,
let's raise it. Let's raise it to the right level in the first place. The highway, that road, not supposed to be touching the ground there. You have to have an overhead causeway. It has to be a certain level because you could get some flooding issues. You have to raise it. I would say at least 15 feet or more. Off the ground
and
in
it
that
also,
area.
It also protects the watershed. You see, which is important. When you're blocking up, you're actually blocking water from moving how it should be. Because that is what helps, and that is the flood. That is the cause of all them flooding back in Woodland and things. That whatever they're doing there, because the water is not allowed to collect into the watershed areas. That's science, I'm a orthopedic surgeon, but Ken, that's just science, It's nothing more than science. And
I am a common sense engineer.
but Gary, the point about it is that it seems that I don't know. Once you become a politician, you tend to just throw away the science, and I'm not sure what's happening with the technical people. I don't know the technical people within the ministries who are supposed to be the engineers and the persons who have the intellectual capacity to understand the science and advise the politicians in terms of policy. Where does that break down? I mean, how does that break down? I don't understand. I really don't. I mean, I sat in the Ministry of National Security for what, 6 years, right? And a lot of the policies that we came up with, right? When we sent it to the ministry, you know what they did? They took the policies that we drafted with our subject matter experts and sent some of them to the military, right? That is the defense force, for them to review it and advise the ministry as to whether or not they should, accept the recommendations that we made. So it is quite unusual that we had ministry engineers and ministry persons, military engineers from our defense force who had no ideas about, some of the subject matter that we were dealing with as scientists in the ODPM. And then our policies have to go to them, right, to vet and recommend. I mean, it was so embarrassing and it was so, humiliating, right? And if that is transcending, that is in a lot of ministries, well, it's a recipe for disaster. And these are some of the things that the UNC. I mean, Sumant, we talked about this earlier o'clock.
Yeah, you see,
That we keep coming back to the same problem. I mean, all
back
all
to the
all that what
same.
Ken is talking about there is not just engineering common sense, but it's also science. It's up to date,
Correct.
contemporary, evidence based, peer review analysis of common issues that are affecting us in terms of a risk based approach, and risks change with time. In other words, then what was existing 10 years in terms of a risk profile, it changes. It changed with COVID, it changed with 9/11. The whole global risk pattern, it keeps changing. It's like the human body, it changes. And we have to adapt to that change. And I think for some reason, when politics get involved in national policy, right, we have a problem. And it seems like our country is destined to go around in cycles, and we just keep doing the same old shit all the time because in the name of politics. Today I heard about a person who might be appointed as a CEO in a particular statutory authority because not because he's qualified, but because he gave to the UNC quite a lot of money, and he actually helped them, right, in a case, and because he didn't win it, right, it will end up, he end up losing. So he demanded that he get a senior position. The problem is that if we go back now and we continue to put square pegs in wrong holes, Ken and myself, Dr. Maraj, Suman, people like us will get frustrated because we will see the same errors that the last government. Obviously, that's their philosophy. UNC has to change that. We have to be bigger than that now. We have to put senior managers and CEOs who are competent and qualified, right? You could put other persons as ambassadors, and you can send them to be chairman of boards and board members. It's fine. But when it comes to key persons to lead people, to engage people, to implement measurement policies, and deal with legal issues and national policy, I think they should really, really sit back a little bit, right, and appoint and appoint and elect and hire proper persons, appropriate persons for the job. If we don't do that, we'll end up losing the other election, and we'll end up just doing what we do best for 4 years, 3 years. Well, I think 3.5 years if we calculate correctly, Saman. And after that, we end up in the same shit again, because we're gonna lose in 2030, right? You will lose in terms of what we are going to be doing as a government. By the time you see you reach, this is 2025. So by 2027, 28, you're going to see what's happening to that bureaucratic bullshit in those ministries. They're going to start holding you back, right? So that's the problem.
I keep on saying every time I come on the program that all systems in Trinidad and Tobago are broken. All systems have to be re-engineered because, like yourself, I believe every 8, 10, 15 years or 12 years or so, you have to change and revisit these systems to make it effective, because the whole damn world is changing all along. And when you still be functioning as if you were functioning in the 70s and 80s and 90s in today's world, you're way behind. Let me get a simple example. Go into most offices right now, government offices, and they close to lunch from 12 to 1. Well, you think in this day and age that's supposed to be happening?
Hmm.
They can't appoint a teller or a cashier or someone to
I don't know. Did he? I think he dropped, or was it? Was
Yeah,
it
It
my?
looked like he
like
dropped.
it's
Yeah,
something wrong with his connection.
yeah, yeah,
You might come back on. Okay.
yeah.
Dr. Rambo, let me just raise two, not raise, just 2 points I want to make. I don't know what your response is going to be. But you mentioned the I don't know what you call them, but the Army would have had their own corps of engineers.
Yes.
So I think you're mentioning that when you did a report, they had to run it by these people. Wasn't
Yeah.
that the policy of the government to have a second opinion somewhere else? Not
Well,
that they.
basically, what it is that it is a policy, but what it is that the subject matter expertise must be the same. It's like, having an attorney who is qualified in the industrial law, and then you send in the case, for a second opinion by somebody who's doing criminal law. So the point is that the army experts were not qualified in the field that they were the topic that they were reviewing, because you had university graduates from UWE and Oxford graduates, and then who were developing policy, who worked at the ODPM, and then they're sending it to an officer, right, who just did their engineering course online. You know what I mean? And had no practical experience, but he was in the military.
Right.
So that's the embarrassing part. But
Okay, I thought it was just a second opinion they're looking. So
no, unfortunately, it was a subject matter expertise recommendation. In fact, they sent it to them to recommend whether or not the ministry should actually approve the bid or the purchase, the standing order. The purchase order.
yeah,
So, like, for example, for example, when we were going to assist the airports authority, right, when they had the H1, the bird flu outbreak, right, we had recommended some heat cameras to be placed along the entrance as part of our responsibility at the ODPM at the time. The
right,
airports authority said, well, okay, well, you go ahead in terms of our meetings with all the key stakeholders. So we had our specialists, our subject matter experts, look at all the existing cameras that they had in terms of to determine the heat, of persons who would be coming, to identify who would have fever or not. You see. We also had our people go and look at the airport and find out which was the best way to have these, so it will conceal it, so that we will get the reports very quickly, the software, and I mean, it was a whole thing, IT and whatever. And when we did a comprehensive analysis with subject matter experts from all over the government, and when we sent it to the ministry, with the purchase order and everything, they took it and they sent it to the military, and the military had nobody who had the expertise, right, to recommend whether we should buy the cameras or not. These are the kind of nonsense. So it's just what they do in the ministries. Once there's a new government, right, they actually use these methodologies to block, to delay
yeah.
as much as possible, right, the effectiveness and the efficiency of what you're trying to achieve. You see, luckily we were able to go straight to the ministry at that time. I think the minister was I think was Sandy or Mr. Jack Warner, and I think we were able to get his, put his foot down and tell the PS, well, we have people who could die unless you get these cameras, and we got it approved, and within 2 weeks we got it flown in, and we identified about 10 people coming in the airport with fever, and they had to be quarantined. You see, so
Because I think you're answering the question, because I
Yeah.
really want to find out in the end what happened, and I think you said in the end it carried through.
yeah, we had to, luckily, because of my neighbor, I had to actually pick up the phone and call her and said, madam, I mean, look, we can't get this nonsense, to go to the army and have somebody who is not even an expert, just because you're just trying to delay the process. They have absolutely no clue. They're going to go and Google it, and they're going to say whether or not they're thinking. And if you see the report they gave, it was so stupid, you know. So
The second question I had for you was and I agree with you 100%. But just because of what I said earlier tonight about old talk and performance and that kind of thing, so I kind of believe in that also, but I also believe in the fact that we must be smart enough on the ground to win an election by doing things that will make you win the election. And even though that is not the best thing, it may
It
be the
has to be
second best
balanced.
or the
It
third
definitely
best.
has to be balanced. Yes,
Yeah.
and I think that it's a balance. But when you're talking about people's health, when you're talking about disaster management, people's health, and I think national security issues, I think here's where you need to have the qualifications and the competencies. There are
Right.
many
I was
many
making
other
I was making a point about
yeah
you mentioned something important,
yeah
which I had to ask the other night, and I wasn't there in time to ask it to somebody else. But
yeah
since I hear it a second time, you talked about some incompetent person because they were the financiers of the whichever, most
yeah
likely
yeah
referring to the UNC,
yeah
and therefore there was a vacancy occurred somewhere,
yeah.
and then they placed him in because he was one of the financiers of the
Well,
party.
he's actually telling people that he's getting the job. The job isn't even advertised as yet. But
Right. So what my point is, and maybe you could trash out a little bit. I agree with you 100%. However, I think sometimes we have to have some flexibility for those who finance our party because it
yes,
takes a
and I
lot of
think that
money.
I agree fully. But I think what I'm trying to say is that there are
Mhm.
other areas in which we could send them and
Right.
give them the opportunity to serve. But
Right.
if you have a child, for example, who died on a pediatric ward because of a lack of code in
Right.
terms of a coding in terms of an emergency code, a blue code, and a doctor who is a junior doctor tries to resuscitate and give the wrong medicine, whatever, just because they don't have a code. Now these type of things, you have to have a CEO, right, who knows and is able to engage the professionals within an organization like that when it comes to dealing with health, ambulance, and whatever. You really need competent and qualified CEOs, and that is why some of the private sector, they will pay 100, 200, $300,000 a month for a guy to come from abroad or wherever it is and hire them and put them into their places. You see, so although we can't pay $100,000 or $200,000 to bring in somebody to put them as CEO of one of the health authorities, for example, we can put, as you say, some of our loyal people. Obviously, there are a lot of them around, and we could probably have what we talked about earlier: have this think tank, right? Have this strategic team that supports the teaching and the mentoring and the development of some of those persons, but they should be at least qualified, if you know what
Mhm.
I mean. They
Mhm.
should have the qualifications. If they don't even have the experience and they have financed the party, I think fine. But if you have to have some degree of competency, and this is where the problem lies, because they'll go in there now. And remember, if you understand what I'm trying to say, is when you're dealing with medical professionals, right, and nursing professionals in the health sector, you have to have a skill in dealing with people, right? Because they will block you, they will actually bamboozle your head because they know more than you, obviously. But the point about it in terms of their subject matter. So getting a proper CEO for the RHAs is, in my opinion, you have to be very careful and hire competent people. We have to be very careful about that. And I think that if we don't do that, we'll end up in a problem because we wouldn't be able to deliver on the
Yeah, but
manifesto.
I was really wasn't thinking that deep. Really, I was thinking more
Yeah.
more lesser kind of
No. This is
kind of
my point is the big ones,
technical area.
the big ones that make a big difference. Health got one of the biggest budget, right? Good.
Right.
National security, education. So you don't want to waste that. They say you're going to be cutting back money, right? And you're going to do what you're going to do with less funds. But that by saying that, what you mean therefore is you have to have qualified and competent CEOs and managers. Your managers must be able to manage people and do the right thing, have no redundancies, have no duplications, measure performance, right? Identify where you're wasting, right? Cut down and cut, maintain, sustain, right? But they also have to be loyal and they have to be party and they have to be able to win the next election by balancing it. You have things that you might be able to lose. Like, for example, one of the biggest problems we have in the world is mitigation programs for disaster management are very costly, very expensive, and they transcend governments. They would last for 10, 15 years to see the benefits. So you find that a lot of governments would not go with mitigation programs. They would prefer to go with the hampers and the pampers. So it's better to give somebody $1 million, give them a new house, give them wheelchairs, give them, mattresses and whatever, because that's politically correct and it's politically good. But basically, it doesn't build resiliency. You understand? Like
Mhm.
Japan built resiliency. So even the baby will run out of a nursery school with a bag and trot up the hill because they know the tsunami is coming. Because they build a culture of resiliency. But if we continue to build a culture of gimme, 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 at the end of 5 years, what will happen is that they will take the gimme, gimme, gimme from PNM too, and they will go back and vote PNM.
I got you. I understand. But some men didn't come back on. Apparently, he got knocked out.
He came back on. Sumant, you there?
No, he didn't
I'm
come on.
here.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah, he's here.
I'm here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, now, okay.
Right. But listen, have anybody seen the list of jobs advertised?
Yeah.
Guys,
I
Well,
think
so
and
much
how many?
you're freezing. That Trinidad internet where you at is
Yeah,
freezing.
like, put on the heat, man. It's
Yeah,
cold in Florida.
they get a
No,
booster.
I have my AC. I have my AC on there.
He down in Trinidad, in Trinidad.
Oh, I see.
But my
Oh, I see.
AC
Put the
come. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you need
The
to get a
thing is
Starlink.
that Ministry of Health, there are 7,900 vacancies out of the 20,000
Hmm.
being advertised as of today.
Yes,
7,900
that's a lot.
plus jobs, and that one ministry only.
Hmm.
So it's almost as big as their budget.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It's
Right.
amazing.
So how can the ministry be functioning?
Huh.
And those are only jobs which have not been filled. Those are not new jobs. Those are jobs that has not been filled.
Yeah,
So
vacancies not
one
filled. Yes.
ministry of, so can you tell me how efficient that ministry was being run
Oh gosh. Yeah.
when you have 7,900 plus jobs? Eh? Can you tell me? Anyone?
I really am amazed. I mean, as Dr. Maraj was saying, and when you really hear some of these guys in the finance committee meeting, and how they're talking to our people, and if they just sit back a little bit and say, but wait now, we caused all of this shit. Is we did this nonsense? I mean, how they're not doing this? I think they just
Unless,
yeah,
yeah,
they
unless
just
doc,
plain the ass.
yeah, doc, unless this country is run and seriously run by a think tank,
Yeah.
we ain't going to get nowhere, because I think these ministers are very limited
Yeah.
in their ability to solve problems and deal with issues.
Yeah, and when you get I have seen it over and over. I don't know if Dr. Maraj would attest to this. I know that Ken, you would know, is that once you get into the ministry as a politician, you tend to be overwhelmed by the people around you. And what happens is that I've seen ministers like even Jack Warner, who came in there and they were overwhelmed by the people around them, and they actually started taking what they were saying for granted, and they were actually agreeing with them and pushing out. And what they if they really backpedal a little bit, they realized that they were doing the same thing that the PNM was doing. They were doing exactly the same thing. They were not thinking out of the box, and they didn't have the ability to use some management skills to critically think and come out of the box. So they ended up doing the same old, and blocking even what we were saying. Some of us, our recommendations, I can only speak about myself, because look, when Ken came up with these projects and things, right? We had other projects that we presented. We were blocked by the ministry. And for us to actually send those documents now to Ministry of Local Government, luckily at the time we had Chandri Sharma, who was the Minister of Local Government. Chan is a good friend of mine from very long, even before the whole elections and things. We go back a long, long way. And I called Chan and I said, well, Chan, listen, we need to do this. This is important. So he was able to push it through from his end, and he had a way about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So this was the personal touch that got some of those things, away from the permanent secretaries, although they were our people. I mean, when I say our people, I'm not being racial here. Although they were our people, for some reason, there were other people who were influencing the whole thing. It's almost like a culture within the public service.
Yeah.
I don't know, somebody made a comment, I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it's Dr. Maraj or somebody, but saying that if we go and we fill a lot of these vacancies with our people, right, in inverted commas, then hopefully we might be able to infiltrate that public service, and we would have some loyal people who would be
Right,
able
right.
to,
Yes.
to, to, to
Yeah,
help us as we go forward,
that's.
you know?
But I beg to differ
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
Doc, if you and Dr. Maharaj as well, if you know how the public service is structured,
yeah,
if you see the jobs and so on advertised, even though we quote unquote try to get some of our people in there,
yeah,
it's never any of the middle or high end jobs.
yeah,
Most of the jobs, for example,
yeah,
yesterday we did a survey of
yeah,
the amount of jobs applicants,
yeah,
and all the ministers, even the prime minister was there, and she said she was so surprised. How come so much a job application was for BOA,
mm,
Business
business,
Operations Assistant,
yeah,
which is the lowest, damn lowest
yeah,
ring of the ladder.
yeah,
And that was the most oversubscribed job.
yeah.
So
I
we're
personally
not
agree.
going to get.
I feel I agree with you, Samantha. It's like what we keep saying over and over. There needs to be more money spent on the strengthening of the management skills. And as I said, we agree that we should really have the think tank and try to force the party itself, right, to get some of us on board and say, well, look, hey guys, look, we are finished with the budget
Because
now. We're going to allocate money, right? We're going to put it in certain areas. Okay, you
at the
guys,
end of the day,
right?
after 4 years, I will say on the fifth year it can be done.
Yeah,
Unless you start some of these deliverables as they identify in the manifesto, let's say you start four, you can complete four of them, major
yeah,
projects. At least
yeah,
you have something to,
yeah,
crow
yeah,
about at the end of the fourth year, because on the fifth year,
yeah,
you are getting nothing done.
yeah,
Everything is held back. So
yeah.
you see,
Well, a week ago, I'll give you an
hiring.
example. Samantha, Doctor, a week ago, I sent a letter, right, to the chairman of the party and copied it to the general secretary, right? And I said, when during the Pandey government, right, when the late Honorable Bastille Pandey was prime minister of the and leader of the UNC, right, the Honorable Wade Mark, right, acting president Wade Mark, His Excellency, what we did is that we sent letters to a lot of the UNC affiliated doctors and clinics, right? And we did a little card, the UNC card with the with Mr. Pandey's picture on it. I don't know if you remember that card, right? That UNC card. If anybody had that card, I had one of them where his face was on it, and you had a number. We had, like for example, in Gulvey Medical Center, we had three of the doctors who were very much involved in UNC, and we gave UNC members who came to our offices, right? It varied between 30 to 40 to 50% off visits, right? Medications, injections, and things from our clinics, right? So I sent a letter and said, well, I'm not doing anything now. I'm in a back and forth from here to Canada. So when I'm here during the hours of 10 to 2, I would like to continue what Mr. Mark had done at that time, and I'm offering my services, my clinic, my doctors who I've hired. I have a little medical center here by me. I have about 3 doctors who work. I have massage therapists and all sort of thing, and I'm giving them a 60 to 80. In fact, I put free, right? You have free visits for all UNC persons who have the party card, right, and the immediate family. Come between those hours. Call this for secretary. I haven't gotten a response at all. I mean, it went by email, it went by WhatsApp, right? And this is what I think that a lot of remember we talked about this, Samantha, getting the party, we mentioned it just now. The party members who are UNC members, they have to get some perks. They have to realize some perks, right? A lot of them might have to pay more rent coming up very soon, right? A lot of them might have more expenses as they go forward. It's going to be hard. As they cut, they're going to be hard. Some of them will be employed, but we're going to have another hard year or two ahead of us. So I think that these are the little perks that we should introduce to give the party members some value added, you know.
But Dr. Ramrup, I think as you also said not long ago that the PNM is an institution,
It is.
and that institution wasn't built overnight.
No, I
So
agree.
it will take a while. So if we start getting our
We
people
start.
in a
Gentlemen,
matter
just hold
of
for 1 second there.
time,
Take a look at the picture on the screen. That is somebody took a picture. That's immigration at Tiaco right now.
Wow.
You guys
What's
seeing
that?
it?
An incoming flight or customs?
Yeah. So
That
anyway,
customs. That's a custom. That can be immigration.
Yeah, it looked like they're lining up because they have luggage, right? So it's customs. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
yeah. So what happened? Because that's a serious matter we are talking about. Because if we are employing all these people in a matter of time, because we're not going to wait no 20, 15 years to become acclimatized or institutionalized with our people. But within, you know what Robinson was doing in his time? They were finding people in the civil service who were pro NAR, and many of them were Tobagonians. And therefore, they had some high levels of people within there are people in the institution that who might be pro UNC and high up the ladder or high up the chain. If you could, I mean, that is a strategy that you use. What I'm saying is that we can't be talking about this and they're not doing it. Because there's sense we talk and they're not doing it. There is a way you get through because we are concerned about, and I heard you all when you said the first year you get nothing done, and Ramrup again, the last year you get nothing done, therefore it's only 3 years.
Yeah.
And we want to change that, but we have to start somewhere. And this is the time where as someone mentioned, 9,000 or 700 people, that will be a number of people who all of them will not be pro UNC, but a good of them will be. So eventually by the 4th year, 5th year, you might have some of them in the supervisory role.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that we don't want, while we understand what we're dealing with, we must also have sympathetic employees. They're supposed to serve the government of the day to start with. But I mean, we want to have a bunch of people who could carry out the policies and they want to carry it out to the full extent, to the extent that they want to help this government to continue doing because they're doing a damn good job.
Yeah, but Doc, with all due respects, nothing happens in the ministry without the permanent secretary. And if you don't have at that level, you don't have permanent secretaries towing your line, forget it as far as any project goes. They stop the project for a year, 2 years. They have the authority, and these are the things that have to change.
Yeah, it
But
really,
you
boy,
change.
Suman, it is frustrating. It is frustrating.
Tell me, man, I went through this.
I literally almost gave up in my almost in the when okay, UNC lost the election in 2015, right? My contract was 2011, 2012, and then they renewed it from 2012 to 2016, right? And UNC lost the election in 2015, right? So I had 1 year to finish my contract in ODPM, right? I had nothing to do in that year. They brought in a deputy CEO and they gave him everything. I became a CEO in name only, right? They didn't even send me to anything. I was just in an office and I used to go to work and come back. And listen, they didn't fire me, but they kept me there and
Right.
they frustrated me. But I didn't leave. I stuck with it, and then when the contract was about to end, just for the sake of it, I applied for renewal. Obviously, they wasn't going to renew it, and I left. You know. But what was the thing is that there was a particular guy called, I wouldn't call names, but he came in and he said, we had vehicles that we were leasing, right, from a leasing company, because in disaster risk management, right, in institutions like this, emergency institutions, I mean, you guys would understand that you need to have an easy supply of vehicles in the case you need to scale up for an emergency, right? So when I went in, they had 3 vehicles that they had purchased, and 2 of them was in a warehouse because it was damaged by water and whatever. So we had 1 effective vehicle when I went in 2011. I'm giving you this story because I think it's important to understand the nonsense that goes on in that last year. Sometimes when we are about to lose the election in
Phone
2014,
run down. Gotta get
2015,
my phone charger.
When we went to
It's still
them
going on.
and we
My
said we
phone, my
want to
phone running
lease the
now.
vehicles instead, they said no, you have to purchase it.
Yeah.
We had to
No,
stop the
okay, in this
lease
one.
contract that we had, right? And we had to go and purchase the vehicle, two vehicles.
I will just
Do you know
go
that there
take it
was
out and put it
one
in the
day
volume.
that two vehicles, one of them got in an accident, right? And the other one, right, was actually indisposed because there was a mechanical failure. And we had no vehicles. So we didn't have a leasing company to say, okay, look, we'll pull back the two vehicles that we leased you and we'll give you two new ones, which is, two other ones. So we were out of vehicles. And if there was something happening in the country, then crap will smoke your pipe, because this is an international science-based policy for disaster risk institutions that you lease, you don't buy. You understand? So when we went to the PS, he said no, absolutely not. You have to purchase. You purchase. So we went and get a purchase order. We purchased, and it came back to hit us in our face, right? And these are the things that you send to the military, and they say, okay, no, no, we should purchase because they are the experts. We don't know how. So
Mhm.
this is the nonsense that we experience, and it was frustrating. And if this goes on in many other ministries, and it's just not my ministry that I was in, you could imagine. You could imagine what happens. So I agree in the sense that we need to employ a lot of people. There are going to be a percentage of those who probably support us. But one of the things that we have in Rotary, Dr. Maraj,
Mhm.
Sumad, Ken, is that in Rotary there's something called membership retention, right? Where there are specific programs where when you get into the voluntary organization, these programs are geared to keep you in, to keep you embedded in it, and to keep you engaged, right? Through thick and thin. And these programs are things that we could employ within the party itself, between the membership of the party, and then the other members who came and the other people who came and voted for us, right, who are not members. They are potential persons that we need to keep, and we keep them thing because our country, the memory, right, the whole ideology is that they changed so rapidly that by the time the end of the 5 years, it have people who would take the gifts from us, take the jobs from us, and go back and vote PNM. So the
Yeah.
thing about it is that we have to develop these programs. They're scientific programs and social programs that we can institutionalize the UNCs. It shouldn't be a party just for elections. It will take some time, as Dr. Maharaj correctly said. It is going to take some time to institutionalize because we never really had a one opposition, not like the
Right.
Republicans and the Democrats. We had NAR, we had a UNC under Pandu, we had a UNC under Kamla Prasad Desessa, we had a People's Partnership. But when you really think about it, we had ULF and NAR and all of these things go back in the past, right? So we had fragmented opposition, whereas PNM was PNM right through.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that we have to fight with, and maybe the young people will be the answer as they come in. I don't know. I have no answers for that, but I know that there are membership retention strategies. One of them is like what I ordered. You could imagine if there are 100 doctors throughout Trinidad and Tobago who are UNC doctors, so to speak, and we give everybody a 40 to 50% discount when they come to our offices, sometimes free. Some of us are retired; we could do it free. I could see it. It doesn't mean much people. It's not 100 people will come to your office in a month, because we did it already. It's only about 5 or 10 people. And if you have 100 doctors, hey, that's about 1,500 people who could come to your office and just get free advice, medical guidance about their medical problems or consultation. And because they hold up a UNC party card, they have that luxury and they have that benefit. And that is an easy thing to do. Instead of doing a medical clinic on a weekend where you see 100, 200, 300 people, but you don't have time to engage with them and sit down with them because it's just a rapid thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So this is an idea. I put it out to the party. I hope they accept it. And there are a lot of doctors who are UNC doctors who would be able to do it. My son and I are here in the clinic, and we between both of us, we could see about 10, 30, 40 people a month free, right? Who are UNC members as part of a campaign
Outreach
to keep them.
program.
Yeah.
And you could extend that to the legal profession and anywhere else
Yes,
too.
correct, Dr. Maraj. That is what I'm saying. Legal, medicine, medical people, the welfare issues of people, right? Poverty, people who have a problem.
Mhm.
It's very hard sometimes to see a doctor. If you don't have money to go to a GP, right? And you sit down, sometimes you can't get to hospital, you go to casualty, The time that you spend is very quick. They run you through. And if you bring all of that to me and you say, okay, let me go through it and see exactly what you have. Let me see what's happening. Let me advise you. You know what I mean? You have a lump in your thing. It's a breast lump. What happened? Well, they sent me from the health center to the hospital. When I went, they gave me a clinic appointment for 5 months. Now, this young lady had cancer of the breast in her family. That lump could be very much cancer. She has to get that biopsy real quick. You know what I mean? This is your cigarette. This is what you do, right? You pick up the phone and you send it to Rishi or you send it to Lax and you say, hey, this person has a lump and her mother had a cancer of the breast, right? And they get a 6 months appointment in San Fernando Hospital because they fall through the cracks. You see? So these are the little things that make a difference. And I think these are some of the things that people will get to hear about. They will share it amongst the little network in the temple and the mosque and the church. They'll tell them, hey, this happened. These are the things that build that party spirit. You know.
Yeah, Dr.
I,
Bodo was very effective. I mean, I had, you remember that situation, right? You
Yeah.
remember that
I remember.
situation?
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Rishi Charan, Dr. Gopi Singh was on board, and everybody.
yeah.
Kenny
But Ken,
there? Okay.
I
Yeah.
every time I drive to Port of Spain, I always when I reach just before Shogunas, I always imagine, like when you drive in Japan, in Tokyo and Sendai and everything, and you drive and these people build these tunnels, boy, under the whole thing. Now we mightn't be able to do it because of our soil structure and subsoil structure. So we would have to go above, build these causeways. So you could
Yeah,
actually go
yeah.
above and you could see a nice scenery like between New Jersey and New York when you're driving there, you're looking down at the swamp below. You know what I mean? And it's high up in
Something
the
like
air.
the FDR. You see how the FDR
Yeah.
built?
Yeah.
Right? So what I'm proposing, right? So we build that causeway, and also in that causeway, we put cameras as part of our security system too. So we cover in the border. This is going to be, I say, a
Yes.
multifaceted, multi-purpose
Well,
agenda.
that's the same proposal that I had when we were in ODPM at the time, right? We had suggested that remember there was a
You see,
road.
and
There's
I
a
and I
Yeah.
had no idea. That's all in my
No,
imagination.
listen,
I had
listen.
no
We
idea
we
about that.
had we had done that. If I tell you, I will go and get a document and send it to you. We had done that at the time there to help with traffic management because if you have a gridlock going up to Portishead in the morning, look, just now we had a 5.2 earthquake on the Richter scale, 5.2, right, northwest of Trinidad, and the quake was felt as far as Piaco. Quite a lot of persons on the chat and thing, were talking about it was rattling and it was 5.2 and it was pretty shallow reasonably, right? So people actually felt it for a little while today. But if you have a gridlock on that highway, you can't even evacuate the highway, there's no policy with respect to. We had situations on that highway where people sat for hours. You had babies in cars, right? You had people sitting down there for hours, had to pee. Women who were holding peas in the bladder, diabetics, right? And there was no backup system to assist these people. There were some people vending, but it wasn't enough, right? And these are things that people don't think about. You see, so we were looking at decanting the highway and setting up these areas. We also talked about the south of the country. There is an existing roadway. I don't know if any of you all ever did that trip in your life, but I did it once, where you can drive all the way south, go along the coast almost, and come into the island, go right down from Moruga, from Cedros, almost come into Moruga, right, and go right down to Manzanilla, not Manzanilla, Galiota. There's a actual old road to the south of the country, eh? And we had suggested that you develop that road similar to what you say in the thing. It is, but this one is actually solid enough to build a road and put your lights and everything else. And here you can have military camps along the way to look at that south border, which is very close to Venezuela. You see, so you could cut down a lot on human trafficking, drug trafficking, and other things just by developing that roadway on the south of the island. And then the roadway exists already. So there are things that we can do. Um, it mightn't happen in this 5 years, but let's hope we can get enough, support to go for another 5 years.
That
So
is
I,
why the think tank is so important. I
Yeah,
mean, I kind of stress that because politicians are politicians. They are concerned about their vote bank. They concerned about how good they look photo ops, the PR, and so on.
And it's a busy schedule. I mean, I've never been a minister, but I know it would be a busy schedule because they have to appear to all these events. They've been invited to 10 things a week, you know what I mean? So by the time they really get involved in the politics and the meetings and meeting with this set of people and this set of people, it just gets worse. Carnival is coming up, Christmas is coming up. So we mentioned all of this before.
Yeah, we have mentioned these things before, but 9 out of 10 times, who are their advisors? Their advisors are more or less.
Ken, I think you dropped out there a little bit, right? That's why you dropped out the studio, but you're back in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can us
yeah.
now, Ken?
I will get
Can
some
you hear
problems with
us?
the audio.
Yeah.
Are you hearing better now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah, what happened? You got skipped out, so you
Yes,
had
I
to
hear,
come
hear
back
you,
in.
definitely.
Yeah.
He's like a Manchester United guy. Okay.
He was flooded out.
Yeah. So,
But the Port of Spain,
go ahead.
the Port of Spain area needs a lot of restructuring. Like, you know, I mean, we have to work with the drainage on the lower level. We have to work the drainage on the hills to redirect the flow of the water. That is my proposal, you know, that we create horizontal and diagonal drainage. You have to manage the flow of the water as it comes down on the hills. I think that, you know, that is what we need to do. Besides, also on the lower level, we have to fix the drainage there. But I'm talking about we start controlling that flow uphill. Because if we don't control that flow uphill, we have bigger problems as water comes below. You know, so Ken, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, I was losing the audio there. Now, we first have to study the entire drainage area of the catchment, right? And look at the hydraulic part and stuff. That will be all part of the study. But what Gary is mentioning there with controlling the flow upstream, that is very, very critical. The Army Corps of Engineers has developed a routing method for river routing, right? And what Gary is saying there, basically in a nutshell, is what they developed. And we have to control the flow because the volume that we're dealing with here, our infrastructure, our drainage networks, our cross-section of our rivers cannot handle that volume or that flow capacity, or the flow velocity, right? Think about, let me simplify it. If you have a bucket of water falling in 1 square feet over 12 hours, right? That could trickle and drain its way without creating any impact. But take that same bucket of water and just dump it in half an hour over that 1 square foot, right? What's going to happen? It's going to overwhelm the entire square foot. And if you have drains and stuff there, it's all going to overtop. It's going to flood the little houses or the infrastructure, whatever it is. So we have to control that, right? That is rainfall intensity in a nutshell. And we have to definitely store, mass storage. That is part of the holistic approach and is very, very critical. And this requires some heavy infrastructure. In fact, I need to put my battery to charge here, Gary. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Doc, you want to jump in? Anybody want to jump in? Go ahead.
Ken, we had, I remember when I was in ODPM, the Japanese government, right, had carried, they took, throughout the Caribbean, they took about 18 of us from 9 countries. The head of the policy, which was the CEO or the chief of the disaster agencies through the CARICOM, through the CDMA system, right? JICA was the organization, just like you have UNDP and European Union providing a lot of funds for climate change and flooding and whatever, right? So JICA sent us, and we, this is 2012, right? We went to Japan. We went to Sendai, right, where Sendai, where they developed the Sendai strategy, which is the disaster risk reduction strategy for United Nations. And they took us down to certain cities of Japan using the train, right? And they showed us what they lost some of their temples, and they have a very, very strong culture with respect to their religion and whatever, where they're very, very, very serious about their heritage. And they lost a lot of lives and temples with flooding. because Japan, as you know, is a very densely populated small country, relatively speaking. So flooding does affect the country, and even just recently, they seem to be having some as well. What they showed us was about 8 techniques that one of them or two of them you mentioned, right? They showed us where they made these artificial channels because the water that was coming into the natural channels was so high. They connected them, of course, by pumps and dikes and whatever it is. They had these. What they showed us was a little square tiling that they use with beads, right? Surface tension. What it did is they dug up a lot of these pavements and car parks from the cities, right? A lot of the banks in front, the car parks, the tennis courts, and all that sort of thing. They replaced them and they put the tiles underneath and they covered it back with the grass and whatever. And what happened is that the water seeped into these tiles, so the water retention, right? When the heavy rains fell, right, it retained the water, so that the water from the hills and the higher areas, when they came through the cities, they were actually retained, right, instead of going down to city gate, so to speak, right? They dug up some of their streets, right, and under the streets itself, they dug these huge drains, right, and they covered it over. So the streets were actually like bridges, if you know what I mean. So these artificial channels would run under the Port of Spain streets, Frederick Street and whatever, and they will come down there, and they will have catchment areas to keep some of the water, retention for the surface water to collect, so that the Republic car park and all the car parks on the upper part of the city, right, all the pavements and all the walkways to go into the businesses, and they would retain some of the water. So it was a multiple, it was like a multiple approach, right? A multifaceted approach, right? They took the radioactive beads, right? Beads, right? Floating beads, and they spread them over, right? Mild radioactivity, not much. And they put it in the city. So when the rain fell now, they had this helicopters and drones that would pass over the city, right? And they would use sensors, and they would show you now how the water was collecting in some of the areas. They did it in England, in the UK, in Manchester. They did the same. They said the same technique where they put the radioactive beads, and they were able to develop models, right, into how these flooding, how the water was actually going to go down to City Gate, and how the water was collecting, and what was retention and whatever. There was much money that was put into that. I remember in my time, in 2016, in the last year before I left, that $20 million was given, right, to the Ministry of Local Government at the time under PNM, right, to develop some of those programs, and that was given for flooding in Port of Spain and the environs. Of course, I left ODPM in March of 2017, so I'm not sure what happened with that money, right, in terms of money that was actually given, right, to develop a flooding plan for Port of Spain and Lower Port of Spain. So, when you think about all of that now, and 10 years, 11 years down the line, you come now and you're having these conversations, and you hear Ken talk about what we heard and what we saw when we went to Japan. Programs that we actually saw with our own eyes, these channels that they would create. And they
One
put
second,
nice
Dr. Ramo,
benches.
you guys carry on. I'm going to join you back in about 10 minutes, maybe less.
Yeah.
All right.
What
Okay.
was amazing about it, guys? I actually went, and you saw where they took the artificial channels, right, and they developed, right, little like walkways for the older persons, because they live up to 1995 now in Japan. So you have the older persons would go for walks, and they have these benches. They put these little parks on top of the banks of these artificial channels, right, which were developed to assist in natural water courses, right, so that you had a double sort of approach, where the artificial channels were taking a lot of the increased surface water due to climate change and taking it out now. And whenever the rivers were high, they were sending some of that water into the artificial channels. So they reduced a lot of the flooding, and they didn't lose some of the temples and whatever that they had. These are things that was there in 2013, 2014, the water retention beads. If you Google it, you'll see that it is available, and you can purchase it. so that when Republic Bank and some of these private sector people are redoing their car parks, they could actually put that instead. And as a matter of fact, you can actually collect the water, right, and use it to water your plants and flush your toilets and whatever. So the water is able to be used, and these are things that has to be done now.
Yeah.
It has to be done now because we're spitting top in mud. It's like the same conversation we're talking about over and over and over again. It's very frustrating to me because this is 2025. I left ODPM in 2017, right? And we are still talking the same talk. Really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we might be still talking. It's the same thing which you're talking about next year this time as well.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, it's and I
Yeah.
mean I saw it. I mean I came back with all of this gleam and eagerness. I wrote the documents. I sent it in technical details. I sent it to the first the first engineer battalion at the military because they were our engineers supporting us, right? So we would send it to them, and then they would send it through the Ministry of Defense to the ministry, and then we would do our paper, our white paper, right, and send it to our permanent secretary, right? It seems, and then I remember we talked about the silo stuff. Remember, Samad, when we talked about
Yep,
silos?
yep.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so here and now, we are the National Security Ministry. The government sent us because we were the platform for disaster risk, right? Which means that all hazards came under that umbrella, right? It came under that umbrella because whether we were a division or not, we were the national platform for disaster risk management. And our government, like all the rest of the CARICOM countries, paid, and we were paying one of the most set of money to the CDEMA, right, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, which was an organization formed by CARICOM to regionalize the approach to disaster. And they had what is called the Comprehensive Disaster Management Policy. All heads of platforms in all the islands became directors of CDEMA in your term of office when you were held. Like, for example, the CEO of ODPM would be a director of CDEMA. And during the time that you spend there, you would be part of the regional policy development, right? So, in other words, then the Japanese government sent all these CEOs of these Caribbean countries to look at some of the flooding issues and the mitigation issues, which was in 2013. We came back, we gave our respective governments. I know that St. Lucia put in some stuff, Antigua put in some stuff, right? St. Kitts put in some stuff from what they did. We apparently didn't do anything because for some reason, national security, right, and the Ministry of Planning and Development and the Ministry of Local Government, they were not connecting. So they're not listening to national security because they think that national security is only about fighting crime. You know what I mean? So those documents were just lost, and for some reason they didn't go across the local government. There was no collusion on what was happening, except ODPM was colluding at a policy level. There was no national policy on flood. That was under the Water Resource Agency in the Ministry of Public Utilities, right? At that time, I think that was I can't remember the minister. He was in the UNC government at the time.
Ganga Singh?
Ganga Singh. Ganga Singh was the he remember Ken. Remember
Yeah.
we had to talk to Ganga Singh, and Ganga Singh came down to I think he had also come and visited the pump one day when we went. I
Correct.
remember I saw him. I think if you remember, in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
recollection, I think he had come down to look at one of those things that you had put in,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, because we had gotten his support at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
But you made a good point there, right? And I just want to reiterate, storage capacity is very, very critical, right? Now, Sandy Grande. I spoke to some of the farmers' representatives there, about 3 guys, and they represent about 110 farmers, right? Actively planting in the Oropun de Vega de Oropun area down there, and all the way up to the almost close to the coast, right? And they're complaining about flooding. Now, what they describe is what I did in Bamboo number 3 with the backflow from the Oroput River. when that is flowing out almost at full capacity, Dr. Ramrup, you have a hydraulic grade from high to low.
Mm.
Your water will want to flow obviously from high to low,
Yeah.
right? And that is a classic backflow scenario.
Mm.
Now, our local team could not figure out how to design something for that elevation head, right? And this is why I came up with the innovative design and implemented it. Now, they told me there's about 9 outfalls that are exposed. So I don't see, how the look, if you give the ministry the opportunity to solve that problem, it's going to be another disaster.
Yeah, that's what we're
Right?
talking about, the think tank. I mean, this is what Sumant and I think Dr. Maraj was in the conversation very early o'clock. And I mean, before you came, Ken, and we said, how can we, how can we be of assistance to the government? I mean, some of us don't want any positions. We don't want any sort
No,
of money from them,
I don't
but we
want
want to be able
to.
to influence them by by giving them our advice, whether they take it or not. We have to have an air, right?
Correct.
Gary said that he will keep pushing. He has the prime minister's air. He will kind of give us some, at least tell them and whatever and whatever. Now it's now what, October, right? We're going to be November very soon. Budget is going to debate is going to finish. I mean, I agree with Dr. Maraj. It just seems to be pressing on and pressing on, and the
Yeah.
PNM people are going to be delaying them and with all these stupid tactics. But eventually, it's going to, at least by the middle of November, we would be able to start looking at allocations and try to develop some of the programs that at least start. And then all of a sudden, Christmas is going to come. So we're going to lose about 2 weeks during the Christmas, right? Flooding, the hurricane season is going to be up sometime end of the month, in
Yeah.
November, middle November, end of November. So we're going to start looking at the dry season again coming up. And then Carnival is going to be booming with us. We're going to have a grand Carnival because, PNM is not in power, and a lot of people will feel nice and secure, and they're going to come out and, we out now. So we're going to be planning for Carnival. So before you know it, Carnival is going to be up and the rainy season is going to start again, right? So we don't have a big window, right? I mean, between now and the end of the year, we have to somehow get some of what you are saying, what you have been saying about Tuco Sangre Grande. You have the answers. We understand. Maybe we don't understand too much technicalities because you're an engineer. Some of us are different specialties, but we understand what it is you're saying. A lot of it is common sense. Some of it is obviously science. Some of it is what is happening in contemporary mitigation approaches. I sent you all a magazine, an electronic magazine. I put it up on the post. It's a flood magazine from UK. I don't know how many of you all log on and
So that.
check the
So it.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has quite a lot of innovative flood mitigation programs that the United Kingdom has been implementing and rolling out, right? With some very good advertisements. I sent it for Jillian, and she of all the ministers replied to me. Khadija started, but she doesn't do it again. Maybe she's very busy. But Jillian does have the Minister Jillian John does have the well, I wouldn't say respect, but she does have the courtesy to send me back and say, okay, thanks, doctor. You know what I mean? When I send these booklets for them, because it's a very good booklet. It has very up to date contemporary science and flood management. You know what I mean? And I'm sure if she pass it on to one of our senior engineers, and they read the damn thing, there are a lot of ideas that what Ken you are talking about is actually written there.
Yeah.
If you really want, and it's written there, and it's happening in the UK right now, and some of the areas where they're trying to mitigate flooding.
Yeah.
So I hope that before Christmas somebody listens to us and gives us an A and says, well, look, we want to listen to what you're saying. We want you to set up this think tank. We have the think tank already. We have
Yeah.
all of us are part of that, and we have the availability to bring some of our colleagues. Right, some of us are retired. Some of us just want to come in and give back to the country. I mean, we have been there all the time for many years. I'm 64. I'm young in the whole scheme of things, but still, we have a chance to give back, and let us advise maybe primarily maybe the party if that's the better thing to do initially, And through the party can say, well, look, guys, when you're having your parliamentary caucus or whatever it is you're having within it, you can say, well, look, guys, these are some of the out of ministry suggestions. Some of them might be syncing with what you are hearing. So we might be repeating some of what your technocrats are telling you. We don't know. We're not in the ministry. We're not you. We're not part of your meetings, but this is some of our recommendations, and they may very well be doing it in those ministries as well. We don't know. We could only see, right? But this is ours, and he will say, well, yeah, that's been discussed. That's been discussed. Okay, yeah, they have that proposal. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? At least we will understand that yes, they have been tabled, and then we will ask, well, okay, so what is your implementation plan? Is it that you're going to be, rolling it out within a few months? Do you have quick wins into this? Do you have any measurable indicators within what they're telling you? In other words, when we become the subject matter managers
Yeah.
to help you as the minister to ask the right questions when you're sitting down at these technical meetings. You understand?
And we could also wear that hat as the expert in
Yes.
certain areas.
Yes.
I'll give you a classic example, right? Manzanilla Mayaro or Manzanilla, the new roadway there, right? They're implementing these metal flap gates. And Dr. Ramrup Ife was featured in an article relating to these flap gates, these metal flap gates, right? When I went down to Manzanilla and I saw these metal flap gates, they brand new, installed in just a matter of few months. They started to rust. I met with the director of Coastal, and I told him and I explained to him the flaws in the design, right? And he said, Ken, I know exactly what you're saying, and you're right, because right now we don't have a solution to implement here. That is why we put in this absolute technology, right? And I told him, I said, if you leave this here, this road is at risk for being eroded again. And he said, yeah, well, let's hope we come up with a solution. And he asked me, and that is a man who's a director, years of engineering experience in Trinidad, asking me for the proposal, for which I did.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm proposing to implement 4 of my industrial designs to fix that problem. So when I called him again, he said, Ken, right now I'm getting some problem with this PS. This PS is not listening and blah, blah, blah. And the politics again there. So I hope one day when that road gets washed away, I will probably tell that PS, right, that you are the problem and the root cause for this road being washed away here. Because the proposal was sent in, right? And I wouldn't say it face to face, I'm going to say it publicly
In
over
the
the
media.
mass media, right? Because sometimes you need to embarrass
You're
somebody.
referring to that Mangelina stretch, right?
Yes, and the guy told me a PS, maybe a PNM PS, is giving us some problems there. But right now the road is at risk.
Yeah, well,
Right.
listen, we know the history of that, right? But that road has to be lifted. It cannot be because we wasting money again and again to do the
Yeah,
same thing over and over
that
again.
again,
Gary,
you need to have a
right now
nice
the
causeway there,
culverts
So
are
man.
not good for non-functional. None
You
of the
had to-
culverts draining the wetlands are non-functional.
Yeah, you have to put a causeway. They
yeah,
have to. You have to
it
lift
has
up.
to be a causeway.
All that nice watershed, right? All of those roads that they built a long time. It has over it the road use now, the development of Sangre Grande, the population, the tourism, the home tourism at beaches and all sort of thing. I mean, there are so much things that could be developed along that
Yeah,
line.
but
putting a
if that place is flooded, you can't get to the rescue those people there.
Hell no, hell no. We had that
Exactly.
problem. I remember
Yes.
when I was in
So
ODPM, right? We had a big problem where we had to send the military, the First Engineer Battalion, to rescue some people who were actually going down in the ocean, in the rivers right over there, and it was because you couldn't get access to them. Lucky thing, the
yeah,
military was able to
that
drop the
that
people.
let me tell you
Yeah.
something. That Manzolina stretch brings memories. Yeah, my father was working there in Galiota Point in the 70s, and he was speeding coming back to Shogunas, and the road washed away, and he didn't know it. Somebody flagging down,
Yeah.
We were in the
And it's going
back
to happen
seat.
again. It's going to happen again. The road is at
Well,
risk.
it will, and I mean that is as I say, just by like the creek, they're spending money over and over. They have to now They have to now put down the, I mean, I don't know when last you guys went to Jamaica, right? When you go to Jamaica now to drive from Kingston to Ocho Rios, right?
Right across.
You saw the Dutch, what the kind of highway they cut in that mountain. Look at the beautiful highway there, and you have to pay a toll, right? And then the Chinese built one from Kingston to go up to connect that road past Kingston, going down a little further west, right? To connect up to that road, east, sorry, to connect up that road to go up to Ocho Rios. I mean, if you see the quality of the roads and the quality of the Dutch built roads in the mountains with nice, laybys and nice views of the mountain, and I mean, it's so beautiful that the Dutch did it. So the thing about it is that having a highway that is cut up through the mountain to go from Port of Spain to Maracas, right? I mean, all of these things are possible, right? It cuts down on the bottlenecking in the East-West corridor. It makes access. It opens up tourism. I think that I think that they really need to sit down, right, and look at some of the long-term funding opportunities. And there are a lot of funding that could be
Well,
gotten there from the,
we have
you
to
know,
we see this program we have here. We have to educate the population
yeah.
on what they've been voting for and what they need to vote for. I mean, I see they made some right decision. I mean, I mean, I ran a good campaign here for a while. Whether it's social media or on this program. To convince the people. But we have to keep educating our people there so that they understand and they can make better decision and invest in themselves, because what they've been investing in is investing in crooked people that rape in the treasury and not leaving any opportunity for them.
But
You
in
know.
this 5 years, if you could reduce the traffic burden to Port of Spain, right, for
But,
thousands of
but
users
that,
in
that
this
causeway,
UNC
that
government,
causeway
yeah, I
along
said,
the
if
Gulf
you
will make
do
a
that,
drastic difference there.
you not only, I mean, whether you win election or not, you know how much what mental stress, right, you'll be
Yeah.
reducing on the people who go to that and have to go that 5 days a week, boy. You
And
know
and
that
then I
that
suggested about
stress,
the
eh?
multi-purpose governmental buildings like in Sandy Grande and Ikaka, so the people don't
But I
have to
tell you,
run up there
whichever
3 o'clock in the
whichever
morning.
government solves that traffic issue with a 10-15 year plan ahead, right? In other words, then once you could show that 10 to 15 year planning ahead, in other words, and when you build the causeway, don't just build it with 2 lanes. You have to build it with like 4 lanes, because
It
as
has
you
to be
go
four
on,
lanes.
you definitely have to think about 10 to 15 years ahead, right? When you widen your bridges in the local areas in Trinidad, you're not. A lot of the bridges they were widening just with 2 lanes. You have to widen it with 4 lanes and build it higher, because you're taking into consideration the forecasting of the climate change issues
Yeah.
that is going on, where you have more people using it over a period of time. Plus, you have higher volumes of water coming down your rivers, because more development is going to be occurring higher up in the water course. So you'll have more surface water coming down. You'll have to have a higher bridge. You know what I mean? So you don't go back and put a 2 lane bridge at the same level of the road,
Correct.
and this is just wasting money. So all of these things we have to actually have an idea of how many bridges you have. I think they have that. Somebody mentioned it recently. And how many bridges are you fixing, and how are you going to fix it? So we definitely have to have a think tank, right, which will actually sit down and have an overview, almost as a sort of, a sort of, very good friendly advice on how to look at your people coming to you as ministers and parliamentary secretaries. So when they present these proposals for you to sign off on, or to take to cabinet or whatever, you have a perspective that is both from your technocrats and also from the SMEs who are looking at a more out of the kind of jungle. So you're looking at it at a different perspective. I think that we really have to fight for this. And if we could
Definitely.
get that think tank, at least for them to listen to us a little bit, it means that we would have
Right.
achieved something, and it would help with the government, sustainable government over the next 5 to 10 years. Yeah, I
Yeah,
I, I feel that that is a big need. Really, I do.
That
and that was,
that is a huge intervention
Yeah.
that will save them in the long run.
Yes, I
yeah, that
agree with
was
you.
something we mentioned earlier, Clock Dog, 'cause since around March or April before the election, I
Yeah.
remember making that recommendation that, I hope this government doesn't end up like the previous inhalation, what they have. They build so many things, done everything on a first time basis and so on. And they did achieve a lot, but you
Yeah.
could avoid some of the mistakes this time around by having a good think tank of semi-retired people or retired people who have worked in the various ministries and know the issue.
Yeah.
You know, that they can
And,
alert.
and not only that, but I've kept up with contemporary science and
Of
contemporary
course, of
practices. You
course.
see, like yourself, Samad, look, you went and did all of these things. Can look at your ideologies, what you have. I mean, you're still young, so you could still get contracts in the private sector. You still have that opportunity.
Well,
But I
Dr.
mean,
Ramuk,
like
I
people
own
like
10
me,
industrial designs.
I really have one foot in and one foot out now. I'm going to Canada tomorrow. I'll be there until the 9th or 10th of November, and I'm coming back because I have to go and check my medical and go and see my cardiologist and whatnot. So I'll be out of the country for the next 2 weeks, but I will be online. So when the program is on, I will
Right.
come on. I'll talk, and
Okay.
I continue to do what I'm doing virtually. I have my office operating. I see patients virtually when I go. So nothing much has changed thanks to COVID. I am actually able to see patients and still make a little money, even if I'm in Canada, with my daughters and whatever. So life has changed. It has changed. It becomes more exciting. It becomes more opportunistic, right? And I just hope that they can allow us to be advisory to hopefully the party. I sent a message for this boy, the Ministry of Legal Affairs, what's his name, Saddam, because he is the strategic officer, if I remember correctly. So I sent an email to him. I sent a WhatsApp message to him to suggest that we have a think tank. We would like to sit down with the strategy or strategic team. If you don't have one, at least meet with you as a strategic officer when you have some time. But I haven't gotten a reply. I haven't gotten
Yeah,
an
well,
answer.
Saddam at this point, he is
Yeah.
buried in so much work right now,
Yeah. So you
uh,
see, I think that is where when the
and
party
and he
wins,
and he's
and
doing such an excellent job.
yeah, you see,
Yes,
this
yes.
is
And he
what I
been
think.
here. Saddam been here on this
Yeah.
program.
I
Yeah,
think
but
what we can
Gary,
do, because he hasn't replied because I guess he's busy. But what I'm suggesting is that maybe we could ask him to appoint somebody in the office, to
Doc,
meet with us.
I
I don't
yeah,
don't
know.
think we
yeah,
have
yeah.
anybody.
I would suggest you go meet him in Port of Spain because even meeting him at his office it might be difficult too. But
I I think what has happened is that the Natex office is empty.
Yeah, I think
No,
that's the whole.
seriously, I say that without anything.
Because all
It's
of them
empty.
are now permanent parliamentary secretaries or
Correct,
ministers. Yeah.
correct. So they in some chairman boards and so on. So it's empty. No one has a role in there. They just has a name.
So the
Yes,
party, the
strategy
party
but
officer.
itself.
keep in mind also that we just about 6 months in government. Eh?
Well, I think that, I mean, I agree with you, Gary, but I think that how they structured this whole thing when NATEX members went up, were chosen for candidacy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then they and
We
then they
have to
ended up,
replace it quickly. We
So
have to replace it
for
quickly.
some reason, maybe in the next internal election, when they vote on NATEX, it shouldn't be the people who are parliamentary or parliamentary secretaries. It should be some other people who might be able to
Yeah,
support. Some of us could go up. I mean, I don't mind going up of our position. The point is that I think that this is where the party needs to be strengthened. And you have to have a party. If the party is in government and they can't even answer a phone or answer a text.
yeah,
I remember when my son was in Barbados, right? Saddam used to ask my son, right, and say, because he and Jonathan would be about the same age. Jonathan is my son, and he said, text Jonathan and say, hey, you went by the boss last night. What you all did last night. I mean, how was the boss? Is she a nice lady? And he wanted to get into the politics, right? And we would say, well, yeah, we were there last night. We played badminton. She's a nice lady. The security guys were outside, and she made her. She told my wife, well, make sure and all go and give those people food. Don't feed all yourself unless all you don't feed my security people, right? So in other words, then we told him that she's such a caring lady. She has a lot of love in her heart. She loves the people. And
that is
and
known.
when we told her,
Yeah,
when we told
yeah.
him, he said, "Oh my God, I want to meet her." Now the same Saddam don't even answer my WhatsApp.
Forget.
You understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's how it is. That's
Dr.
yeah,
Ramuk,
exactly how it is.
and Gary,
I'm here.
look, we're dealing with a marginal constituency in Toco San Grande. Right
Right.
now,
Yeah.
we have 100 and plus farmers there, right? And I'm talking to the representatives, and they're looking for solutions. So we are going to have to cut to the chase and talk to
No,
whoever minister.
I spoke to them. I spoke to them because I said we're gonna work with the corporation there, and I told
Yeah,
them, they asked me because the guy that you met them with there at the MP office is no longer there. So
yeah,
I said that we continue. I said keep in touch with me and keep in touch with you. So
yeah.
I spoke to the corporation. We're going to have. I'm going to try to arrange some meetings because I spoke to the deputy chairman there and I said I want you up there in the corporation meeting, right? So I'm going to sort that out, and
What?
where you can attend the corporation meeting
Ken,
and enjoy
Ken,
this thing.
when you're going up, I'm back on the 10th. I want to go up on that side for a drive one of these days.
Yeah,
Um,
I would like you
yeah,
and Ken to go up. Yeah, I'd like you
yeah.
and Ken to
So
go.
maybe we could hook up and we could go together because
Yeah, yeah.
I
No, I'm still out there. I'm still out. I'm still in Orlando
yeah,
here.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back on the 9th or the 9th of November. So I'll be
November.
available before the end of the month, to probably go and make a trip. Or even when you come and I'm not there and you're having meetings, maybe we could virtually
We
hook
do a
us
Yeah,
up,
we
virtual.
could. Yeah, we're going to be
Yeah,
doing some Zoom
yeah.
also. But definitely, I want you guys up there to physically be there now. And I know they could get and see it. I mean, then you're known people, but still, I want you guys to go up there and meet with the regional corporation there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to
Well,
start a delivery, yeah? We
So
have to
I
start a
already
delivery.
had that discussion, and I'm going to reiterate it and try to get this done.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a big plus there.
yeah.
Yes. So definitely we're gonna move forward. We're gonna deal with the flooding issues, and make the recommendation for we talked about how we going to repackage the constituency for the tourism, and
Yeah,
I definitely want to see I mean down the road that we build that port and make that inter-island connection that will boost the tourism in that area. I mean, it makes no sense for me to have to go all the way around Port of Spain when you could stop off in Toco and get
correct.
off there right there, and you could see the turtles and different things. And even if you want trying to get home, I
Yeah.
mean, why do you have to go through Port of Spain? So we have to decentralize Port of Spain in many
That,
ways. I mean,
that's a plus, Gary. And also, so what we could do, we could break up this into long-term and short-term goals, right?
yes,
In terms of projects. Right now, critical projects, right, that has to be implemented is those backflow systems, and I have identified 9 of them. So off the bat, without any studies or anything like that, I just have to go in and scale my design and implement it. So when I go to Toco San Grande, they are meeting with these farmers on site, and I'm walking my drone guy, and we are going to be taking some measurements, right?
right,
In addition to other high impact solutions that we look at.
yeah, yeah,
But these guys, I mean, they carry a lot of weight there, right? And they have a lot of problems. And one of the guys said, for 40 years we've been dealing with this thing, and we need some help here. It doesn't make sense
definitely.
that these guys planting the crops and getting washed away. And
Yeah, but Ken, I want to
waiting for a
also
structure.
I want to bring them on alive. A lot of them don't have that proper internet connection and thing, but I want to bring them on alive to discuss these things so that
Yeah.
But I want you to meet with them. I want you to meet with the corporation as soon as you can. But I definitely going to try to see if I could do some zooms before you even get up there.
Again,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I had sent a document from the Ministry of Planning early about, for the whole country, the physical development plan that when Dr. Bo Tiwari was in planning that they had developed, and in the context of future development in terms of zoning, in terms of planting in flooding areas and whatever. You know what I mean? Did you by any chance? I know. I think you came after, but have you seen that developmental plan? I don't know if PNM implemented the plan or approved
I
it.
haven't seen
And,
that.
okay. Because what it is, it was on this chat. I'll have to look back and see where I got where I have it. I know I sent it to everybody. I will see if I can get it back and send it to you because it will be a
Yeah.
good thing to, because that is the national document, right? Which will tell you right? Some of the areas that the town and country should not be given approval for buildings and whatever, and people should not be planting stuff in those areas because it's part of the watersheds and areas that are prone to flooding and all sort of things. So I'm not sure how much town and country is enforcing anything. To be honest with you,
Unless you're planting rice.
you
Unless you're
so
planting rice.
but it'll be good to have a look at that in the context of what you're going to be doing.
No, definitely we'll take a look at that document.
Yeah.
If it comes, if you get your hand on it, send it to me.
Yeah. Okay. I will check and see, because I did put it on the disaster chat, but that probably would have gone a long time unless somebody sees it. I'll have to look and see.
But Gary, sorry to cut across it, but Gary, I think look, we're looking to win election again here, and these marginal constituencies should be a big focus. There shouldn't be any hesitation or resistance when there are issues within these constituencies. We have to go out there and perform and deliver.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah,
as I say, we have the time. I mean, I have the time now. In the sense that I'm retired and I'm not sure what's happening with me, but basically, this is an area that we can get the maximum benefit from in a relatively short space of time, because some of the programs that you are talking about there can be implemented.
Correct.
If they're spending money on flooding, because I know that the Ministry of Local Government has allocated money for mitigation programs in the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. So therefore, it really means that it will be hard. It will be so disastrous, right? If we can't get a chance to go there and influence decision making, and for people to go there and do other things, right, that probably would not be the right things. So we really somehow have to get an audience,
for instance, farmers that can, I put Ken in touch with there, they have come on board because they believe they've been disappointed so much time, but they're willing to give a chance because of what I said to them, right? So, and then they see that we sent Ken up there to meet with them. So that's building the confidence.
Something happened then, and they were able to talk to somebody. Yeah, so that.
And I got all their numbers. I got all their numbers. I told them I'm going to call them. In fact, I will reach out to them this week again to just connect. And I told them, call me anytime if there's an issue here. But we are going to be investigating this, and we'll be implementing some design solutions here, right? But we have to investigate it thoroughly, right, in order to move forward. So they're getting some reassurance and they're feeling optimistic moving forward. So yeah. But again, Gary, coming to the political side of this thing, this is a marginal constituency here, and this is about 100 farmers, 100 plus farmers with families. So that's a lot of votes.
We get to scratch it.
You broke up there, Gary. Sorry.
More that, and this is why I was trying to get this meeting. But we're gonna have to put it together ourselves, because I can't rely on certain people, and so I definitely have cooperation about this.
Gary, you're breaking up. Can hardly hear you.
Hold on, it's still here, but yeah, but definitely we're going to be dealing with these issues. But you guys just chat for 2 minutes. Let me get out of my car and I'll get in the house and you hear me better.
Okay. Yeah, Doc. Dr. Ramley? Yeah, so
I hear you. Yeah, so
if we're looking at a strategic plan to win the election again, we have to get very serious with these marginal constituencies. And right now, Toco Sangre Grande is one of them, and we have identified problems there. So I don't think there should be any resistance from anyone to not wanting to do something there, or any hesitation, right? In fact, they should be eager.
What I'm worried about is that I mean, we have to. I don't know how to say this, but it's the I'm not sure if we get in a hearing, right? So I'm not sure if they want to hear us. That's one. Yes, there's going to be the lobby from the people on the ground. That'll be the best way to get them to hear us. But not only in your area, but in other areas, for example, where the ministers pretty much have their manifesto issues. They had a lot of discussions before the elections. They went in and they put a lot of stuff that they want to do, right, and to achieve. And they are very firm, strong. They're not going to get their money, hopefully allocated. We don't know where they're going to get the money from, but at least it's going to be budgeted. In terms of wherever they get the revenue from. So they're going to be start implementing their programs. As I said, between now and Christmas, they don't have much time to start anything, but at least hopefully they could hear us. You know what I mean? Some of your programs in the other areas, as well as Port of Spain and the marginal constituencies, are definitely, programs that from what you're hearing, people are saying, but I am. I mean, I'm a bit pessimistic, but I'm also optimistic that we could actually get the people on the table and maybe talk to them. I mean, obviously, meeting with Minister Khadija Amin is going to be very important, right? At some point in time, because she has the lead, when it comes to discussions with any sort of consultants or any sort of persons who might have subject matter proposals, if you know what I mean,
Mhm.
to change or to alter or to improve the drainage system throughout the country. She and Madam Jillian John, Minister, they are the key persons who we have to get on the table. You know what I mean? And actually have a meeting with them at a policy level, at a political level, right?
Yeah.
Meeting with the farmers and whatever. They would have met with quite a lot of people before, but thank God because of your intervention, and thanks very much for taking the opportunity and accepting my invitation to come into the group. Um,
Definitely.
you know, I
Thanks for that, Gary.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Rama.
I am very happy that you are there because you were needed, and you were the best person to get involved in this.
Well,
There is.
Bamboo number three. I don't have to even talk about that,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I was there a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago. I have a friend who lives in Bamboo number 2, and I said, let me just pass and take a check and see, what is happening there, And I went and I was very, happy, to see some of the things that was done, and it brought back some memories. And I hoping that we would make a difference. We will. It's just
We
that I
we have
don't
to roll it
know.
out in a national scale.
Yeah, you see, this is where the ministers would come in. I mean, clearly we will be doing our thing with the corporations, but I mean, I don't know if Gary's back, but when you saw what the police did with the Diwali function, right, where they actually stopped the function. I mean, they could have used their discretion. It was Diwali, and it was the first time it was on a grand scale, and I was surprised to see that they actually stopped it. Literally stopped it. So, which means that there is quite a lot of turmoil it reveals a deeper problem, a more deep-seated problem in that constituency. So
Yeah.
what you're doing is highly commendable. And if you have the time and you go up, it will mean that we will eventually have to meet with the ministers. We would have to
Oh
meet
yeah,
with them.
definitely, definitely.
We would definitely
Yeah.
have to meet with them. And if we work, as you say, you're working with the engineers, the city engineers, as well as the engineers from the Ministry of Local Government and the regional corporation. So they are the right people at that level. So if we could, I'm hoping, I'm praying that I do get. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't happen. But I have applied to go. Well, I've sent in my interest in going back to ODPM. If that happens, well, it makes my input easier, right? Obviously, where I will have the reason to come into some of those meetings, right? With respect to the more national problem when it comes to mitigation, right, and flood management. So if that happens, it would definitely allow me to continue some of the programming and strengthen some of the programs that you're talking about with respect
Yeah.
to our past visits to Japan,
No, well,
and then what you are saying,
not to cut you, not to interject you, but I will definitely endorse you because of the experience and the value that
Well,
you will
boy,
add.
I'm
Right?
hoping, I'm
You're not
praying,
reinventing the wheel.
yeah,
You've been there,
I'm
done
praying,
that, and you
yeah,
succeeded.
yeah.
Right?
So I'm hoping I mean, I'm praying that will allow my conversations and your conversations and some of the other things we're talking about in this chat over the past couple of months, a few months, we talked about it, to actually give, a more, firm commitment, right, to some of the, I mean, even when you go to that position, it will be a national responsibility. So it wouldn't be
Correct.
a political responsibility, and that is good
Yes.
because it allows us to use the all these key stakeholders and bring them on the table,
Right.
and it will give us the opportunity to do that, if you
Right.
know what I mean.
Because
Yeah,
because we're fixing a national problem affecting everyone on that island.
correct.
Right?
So if we bring in the Ministry of Works government engineers, the city engineers, the regional corporation engineers, right? And I know a couple of them had gone to some of the workshops that we had, and when we came back and we gave them we showed them all of the things. So we are hoping that happens, and if it doesn't happen, well, we will still continue what we're doing, and
Yeah.
hopefully whoever is taking up the position, we will meet with them at the ODPM, because they will be a key stakeholder, in a national program, right? So even if it's not me, I will still give the commitment to meet with whoever it is, and we can sit down and also get them involved and try to let them also lead the engagement with some of the other key local government people. So
Definitely.
let's see
Definitely.
how it goes. Yeah.
If Gary's back,
Is he? Yeah.
just give him 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty much beat. I'm gonna when he comes back on, we just say goodbye because we
Yeah.
have. I
Yeah.
think Sumant is gone, and I see him. Dr. Maraj is gone, and we're not achieving much by continuing the discussion anyway today. But um, suffice it to say, I am hopeful. Because there are things to be done. It's
Well,
just I'm
you know,
just worried that we're not getting the ear of some of the people.
well, Doc, I think it's if I think good sense will prevail,
Yeah.
and people will realize the assets that they have in you, right?
Well, not only me. There are other people who are there, but they've been sidelined for whatever reason. So we don't know. We'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed and see. It's
Yeah.
young, as you said. But Gary
But
keeps
I,
saying
I, I
it's
am
fresh.
I'm endorsing you 100%,
Yeah.
and I will start to kind of emphasize that also in the bigger chat there, the TNT disaster chat there,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because
You guys
I
hear
mean,
me? Bill? Oh, no.
yeah, Gary,
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
you
here
good?
still.
Yeah. Just get in
Gary, I
the
was
house.
just talking about, look, Ari, I'll be very frank with you. A man like Dr. Stephen Ramrup, right? He understands water resource. He understands the problem, and one thing he's willing to also sit and listen and look to see what could work and what cannot work. I implemented 2 industrial designs. It's intellectual property, and Dr. Ramrup saw the value in those
Can
designs.
you there?
Right?
I think his
Yeah, I'm here.
internet went a little.
Hello.
I wonder if he's hearing us. I don't know.
Let's see if
Gary,
I
you there?
can. Yeah. I lost you a little bit there, but
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. So what we did in Bamboo number 3 in 2013 and 2014, right?
right.
Dr. Ramrup saw the value in those innovative designs, right? Now I own 10 industrial designs with the Intellectual Property Office in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And what Dr. Ramrup saw there, he said this will work, right? This is something unique. It will work.
Yeah.
And he knew that I work for the Dutch also. So I'm not just coming to try something, right?
Right.
Now, when all the engineers in the drainage division couldn't solve that problem, is me to turn to. So if I have to endorse someone best fit, from my perspective, who can handle the ODPM is Dr. Ramroop, because he
Well, yeah,
understands the
I
problem,
support that too. I definitely support
right?
that.
So yeah, let's
And
support him. Let's support him
and
all the
we
way.
understand each other. I mean, you came in on board, and we kind of clicked because we kind of on the same page. We didn't have to spell out everything because we kind of have how to say, we
We
have
think
the
the
same
same.
mind.
We think the
Yeah, the
same.
same mind.
Yeah. So
Okay,
yeah.
so
So
we in
then,
sync with what's going on, what needs to be done, and let's see how it works. I mean, the government is 6 months in there; they're sorting out the budget now,
yeah,
and let's see how well we can move forward. Definitely. I want you to meet with Khadija also.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
I
just
have
discussed that.
sent.
We would
Uh,
have to meet with her
Maybe me
and
and Dr.
possibly
Ramroop will
Miss
meet with
John.
her and talk about bamboo number 3.
Yeah.
yeah, I think you should. And as soon as Doc comes back into the country, um, and you outside anyway, so soon as you guys can do that, definitely. I
Yeah,
want to
well,
get these things done.
once Ken comes back and we come back, I think what we need to do is Ken, we still have to hook up a little bit here, right? So what we
Yeah,
can do is when you come back, we'll meet and then we will just plan, what I have here, and then we could go up there one of these evenings. I'll meet you up on that side or something, and we'll go up.
and we go up
Yeah.
there.
Whichever works for you. And I don't know if Samant is still out. He's going to be around. So we could probably just kind of rope him in too for the drive, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
because I go up to the beach house on a Saturday evening, right? In my arrow. So it might be a good thing for me to go like on a Saturday afternoon, lime a little bit in that area and then head up to my arrow, you know.
Okay.
Guys, I'm
So
just seeing
you know,
a 5.0 earthquake on just like between the
yeah, we had mentioned that earlier.
Bashagamas
It's
there
a
and
5.1. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I just seen it. Yeah,
that was that was early in the evening. Yeah,
yeah.
I had posted it up on the chat.
2 hours ago, yeah.
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 Yeah. So Gary, and I will reiterate. I will end with this. These marginal constituencies are very, very critical. It's a win or lose situation,
Well,
and we
that's
can't
why
play.
I'm making a big deal. And see,
Yeah,
and I
See what
and we
happened with the police? It means that there is a definite ruction in
there's
that
an
area there.
undercurrent there.
Yeah,
yeah. We're facing some challenges. We have a lot of work to do there. And
yeah.
you see, there's a certain amount of trust that the people I'm dealing with has built in me, and they're expecting something, and I want to make sure that's delivered. You
Yeah.
know.
Right. And I'm
Well,
here
I
all the
hope that
way.
when I came on, I had listened to the lady talk about a COVID experience there, and I mean, when that whole situation was going on at the time, it was I was actually very close to the neighbor, and she was reading a lot of what I was saying about the COVID, and she had actually invited me one day at the office of the opposition leader to meet with some of the other the MPs at the time, and I had to give a presentation on what were the plans that the opposition had to do for the COVID to counteract what was happening at the thing. And then during that time, I also worked with Prakash Ramada. A number of issues that came up. He used to ask me for my medical and medical legal perspective on it. I mean, including some of what happened there where he was involved. And there were much more other cases. So I
Well,
really do
Doc, I
hope.
took a militant approach, right? I said,
Yeah,
listen, use the secondary schools and make it a temporary quarantine center because the
yeah.
kids not there right now, and bring people come. We had Caribbean Airlines, we never utilized
But
that.
let me tell you,
We had to do a whole session on this, a whole
they
session
really
on
did
this.
not manage that good, and I'm hoping that Dr. Bodo and maybe the Ministry of National Security somehow they launch an audit into the COVID-19, and there are certain things that has to be exposed, right? And one of
Yeah.
it is the morbidity and mortality data, right? It would definitely record some of the
Doc,
actual
I
morbidity and
maintain
mortality.
contact with this lady every step of the way. I was down the shores with my kids and my family, and she reached out on the group to hear about my group. And from
Wow.
the day we connect, I maintain every step. Let me tell you something. If I didn't drag Karen Sohan into this thing, they would have keep her another 2 weeks there in quarantine. In fact, they wanted to send her in a mental ward.
Hmm.
Mm.
we stopped it because they wanted to kind of destroy what she's saying now. They wanted to hush she up. They try many things to do.
Well, anyway, boy,
If I didn't get
I
Anand to defend she there, to stand up with she
yeah.
there, they would have take advantage of she.
Yeah, there would we hope that they will do an audit. And as I said, I would love to be part of that because there are certain informed there are certain data issues, quarantine best practices that were not adhered to. Somehow or the other, there were people who were doing things
Doc,
without a proper pandemic
everything was
plan. So
young and nobody want to take no advice. And
yeah,
everybody afraid to talk to he.
yeah. Well, he and Rowley
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
beast. Anyway,
yeah.
guys, I think we
Yeah,
it was
Dr.
good.
Ramrock. Thanks
Yeah.
again,
Yeah,
guys.
let's
Right?
wrap
Thanks
up.
again.
So we'll
Yeah.
catch up.
Yeah, so I'll talk to you guys. I'm flying out tomorrow evening, so when I get into Toronto, it'll be, Sunday and thing and Monday and the next week I will have some time to chat once we
No
load up
problem.
the.
Yeah. All right then.
Yeah,
All right,
Gary, we'll
guys,
talk soon.
take care.
Dr.
Thank
Ramrock, have a
you.
safe flight.
Thank
Take
you
care.
everyone for
All right.
listening. Have a
Take
good
care.
night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Nadira, Lindsay, thank you for joining us here and everyone that was listening. Have a good night, everybody.